Okay. Okay, you can view my screen. Okay, is my screen visible to everyone?
Hi, Mrs. Harvin.
Hi.
Are you sharing your screen now?
Yes, I am actually. Can you see it?
Okay, try to share one more time.
Okay. Better? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I can see the slide now.
Yes. Okay. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a Saturday. Thank you for joining us. So before we begin with our interesting presentation and discussion for today, let me brief you a little bit about the SPE membership. All right. So before we begin, I do hope and I do wish that everyone, each person who's watching this right now, please ensure that you actually register yourself with SPE. Okay, one of the very, very good benefits is that when you have SPE, you get these kind of talks and you actually get to access all these kind of interesting activities or events, even on a weekend. Okay, so there are some professional benefits for joining SPE. So you get to be a ambassador lecturer, you get to do volunteering, you get to do mentoring, of course, visibility is one very, very good important point here. You also get a lot of free education, independent insurance. You can also network professionally with all your peers and your colleagues around you. All right. And then as a student, if you are a student studying petroleum engineering or any sort of stuff, you can actually get free membership currently. You can receive mentoring, scholarships, fellowships. You can even participate in Petrobol, student paper contests. If you do have any issues with your career or you're not sure about something, you can even get career guidance. And of course, you'll be accessible to our virtual field trips. Currently, it's virtual. Yeah. Okay. All right. So during this pandemic situation, whether it was last year or this year, there are three new very important points to note to become as you want to become a member. One is the fees has been reduced by 50% for Malaysians. Number two is there is a free renewal of membership for those who have actually lost their jobs. And the third one is the insurance program for SPE members. So basically, members who are transitioning from the student membership to the upon graduation to the professional membership, you can receive the first year of the annual fees free. Okay, so subsequently, definitely it will be about 60 USD. All right, and all your fees that is reduced by 50% or student memberships who are free and all that, this is all actually sponsored by Chevron. Okay, so make sure you check the correct boxes when you do your application, or if you have any issues, you can always contact one of us. All right, so now SPEKL is having a small promotion. Okay, so each month there will be two winners. One is the lucky draw for physical gifts, and the second one is actually a chance to present at one of the SPEKL activities or events. So if I were you, don't wait. Start your registration now. Okay, so just to summarize a little bit, so student members, you can actually receive all the benefits set on the screen on the left hand side, and professional members, of course, on the right hand side. You can get provide mentoring, volunteer in all the SPE committees and stuff, technical talks, trainings, accreditation, workshops, and so on and so forth. So, this is a platform that you would want to explore because it is very interesting. Plus, you get to network with all your peers and all your colleagues. You get to meet new people as well. All right. So the extra benefits is the free membership for those who've lost their jobs, insurance programs for SPE members, and of course, you get a one petrol discount. Okay. So register today and start winning. Student members, it's free. Professional is 60 USD annually. Register today and send a confirmation email to the email address shown on the screen before 31st of August. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Havin. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to thank to everyone for joining us and spending your Saturday's afternoon being here virtually. A warm welcome to all of you. Before we start, I would like to lay some ground rules for today's event. Firstly, to all the participants, kindly mute your microphone during the session as to prevent any disruption. If you have any concern or question regarding the event, please type in the chat box and our committee will gladly to assist you. Secondly, we will have a Q&A session at the end of each talk, and you may type in your question in the chat box or use the raise hand button features before we allow you to unmute your microphone. Lastly, the event will be recorded for purpose of documentation as well as for you to watch the recording later on. Ladies and gentlemen, if green energy is the future, how can we lead the path towards achieving it? To lead the path, in conjunction with SPE KL Energy Mentors Program 2021 by Society of Petroleum Engineers, Young Professionals Kuala Lumpur, we brought you today's webinar towards greener and brighter future. My name is Nur Shafika Akila binti Norizam, and I'll be your host for today's session. This event is organized by Bravo team, consists of students and graduates from different universities and led by Ashraf Azrul from Petronas, together with 3 amazing mentors. The objectives for today's event are to spread awareness on the contribution of carbon emission towards the climate change and the solution towards net zero emission, as well as to share challenges due to pandemic faced by our graduates and young professionals to make them better prepared and be more resilient in the future of energy sector. Let me run briefly on the tentative of the event. There will be 2 sessions for today's event. For the first session, we will have 1-hour discussion on topic Road to Net Zero Emission by 2050 from our distinguished speaker that I'll be introducing very shortly. After that, we will proceed with Kahoot session, where you should not miss this session as there are prizes to give away and you might be the lucky winner. And then we will have a short break before we proceed with second session, where we have another 1-hour discussion by an amazing speaker on topic Challenges towards Energy Sector for Future Graduates. So if you are a student or graduate, stay with us. And I'm sure this session will be beneficial for all of us. Now let's get back to today's agenda. To kick off with today's event, we are pleased to have with us our very own Vice Chairman, Board Director of SPE KL, Mr. T.S. Anwaruddin Saidu Mohamad, to deliver the opening remark. Please welcome Mr. Anwar.
Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to all of you. As you can see, with a great mind putting up together, so we got a David Letterman stage for all of you, specially designed by SPE KL Section YP. First and foremost, let me congratulate YP, your young professional community of SPE KL Section, led by Fatin and Hazwan, and together with the Bravo team. I think they have done a fantastic job in putting this together. They want to give you the most, and they have worked long hours to make sure that even what you are seeing today give you a new experience. And thank you to all of them, and I hope that they also learn something from the journey. And to all of you who actually spent time on this Saturday, well, you may have other choices, but you prefer to spend time on a very important topic today. Like I mentioned in the chat box, is even more important as we are actually fueling the civilization for many decades. And of course, we will continue to do that too. So as a Vice Chairman of the SPE KL section, I have an immense pleasure to always talking to the youth. I always believe that you are the guys who are going to set the path forward on many interesting topics we are talking about. We can talk about what we are facing today, but the real people who are going to make a difference is you, because you are the future of the industry. Now, I do have some slides. Before going to that, I think in connecting to some of the previous discussion I had with many of you, I always believe that engineers or technical professionals in the industry, you have a lot more responsibility as compared to the vision we had in our time. In my time, it was a very, I would say a bit of constipated way of looking into, because it wasn't a manifested issues that we are seeing today. And the way we look into was very different from the role that evolved into today's environment. Let me share a little bit with all of you. So as you can see, today's environment demand a very holistic role from us. Simply because one thing I can tell you is, if you have not realized it, I think you should be looking into the past events. And in fact, hopefully we learn something from the current environment too, the COVID-19 pandemic. I think everybody talk about pandemic. I try to avoid talking about it. But again, I think it's something that is positive that can come out of it. So no matter how you put it together, the equation is very simple. We need to, no matter whether you're engineer or professionals of any other type, we need to coexist in this system, which is in this Mother Earth, in a way that is we are equitable with others. So our rights to live in this very Mother Nature is almost equal to any other life forms. And even an ant probably defend its own rights of being with us, coexist together. And there is no one here actually can command that, I have a better rights than the other. So that brings to the equation of what you can see here. In defining sustainable, whether you want to be sustainable, I need to be sustainable in this system, or even our career need to be sustainable, our economy need to be sustainable. There need to be three things to be existing, coexist together. We, no matter whether it's as I said, human being or technical professional, we need to be responsible to three systems here. One, of course, economically responsible. This is very much default. I think no matter which company you join, I think it's almost a primary responsibility. I think I don't want to stress too much about it. Secondly, socially responsible. So you definitely want to be a socially responsible career, right? You don't want to create a solution that is actually devastating the people, devastating or create negative impact. For example, certain substance that you create can cause problem to others, for example. And finally, very important one is environmentally responsible. No matter how superior we are in this Mother Nature, even you put everybody together, believe me, we can't handle the provocation or retard if the environment put it together against us. There's no way we can handle it. It's impossible. Even we put it all together, our great minds together, our great invention, we can't handle environment against us. We cannot afford that. And we must be able to understand how can we coexist in a healthy environment, in coexisting against the environment. I think that's very important responsibility, especially I will tell you why, that we are the engineers and professional fueling the civilization. By fueling the civilization, we also created other additional side effects that we need to acknowledge and understand. That brings me to my last slide. So whether you are in the energy sector or oil and gas sector, especially let's talk about oil and gas sector. We agree or don't agree, we have created 1/3 of all sorts of emission in this world for the past decades. I think it's keep trending up, as you can see on the left trend, right? In 2010, this is amounting even by 2010 or 2018. That the last I saw was until 2018. It's about 1/3 of the oil emission is keep going up. Because our reliance, simply two factors. Number one, population increase, the require energy demand to be increased. Number two, we are keeping the status quo of reliance on fossil fuel to be the most. But of course, the recent trend is changing. So let's look into the right message on the right graph, right? What it tells you is actually that the great events of the world has actually giving a very clear indication what's happening to the emission, right? Let's compare World War II. In the World War II, people were depressed. There's not much of a movement. Of course, the bombing was going on everywhere. That's put aside. But the collective mobility has been curtailed. And that has actually caused a good news to the environment, right? You got less emission. And COVID-19, in a way, is one way or retaliation by environment that it actually caused us to be restricted to our home. And, if otherwise we will meet all of you physically. on topic today. So that has caused less emission too. So what it means is actually our activity, what we do actually influence the kind of the effects to the environment. And I think we need to acknowledge that we cannot keep on going, doing things and without acknowledging that, does it matter? So as long as I'm what do you call it, economically responsible. In my days when I was in the university, this ideology was not often highlighted. It's not as much as what we are talking about today. And you might realize that why so many webinars and things like that talking about this is simply because it's become unbearable. And if there is nothing happen today, it become a point where it's irreversible, and it's you cannot take a U-turn. It probably require you to put multifold of initiative as compared to taking a very drastic action, which we call it climate action. So I think I want to impart to all of you, especially from Society of Petroleum Engineers, and we has to be seen and has to be responsible to our action. We has to be a community that pay attention to the ecosystem and able to strive continuously to coexist with other elements of the life forms, with the people and environment. I think that's my only message that I want to impart, and I put a context to the remaining speakers. And apart from that, I think SPE, I truthfully have to mention that there's so much initiative going on in this regards. And I think it doesn't stop at sectional level. Even in SPE international level, right from the beginning of awareness, education, and also climate actions, I think is going on a great pace. And that includes the institutions and also corporations in the oil and gas industry, major corporation, national oil companies, independent service providers, integrated service providers. All of them is coming to a big realization. I think the youth, all of you, going to play a very important role in that, right? I think that's a part that you need to understand, that you're going to play a very important role, no matter which ecosystem you are part of the industry, whether you are in a service entity producing innovation, or you are a policy maker, or you are going to influence your operation. So be mindful of the output that you are creating, whether it is actually in balance with the need of the tomorrow. We need to responsible what we create of the tomorrow, and that means we are responsible for the future generation to enjoy same quality life they are enjoying today or even better. I think with that I conclude my speech, and thank you so much for the speakers. Mr. Thiru from Petronas, I've known him for quite some time now. His wealth of knowledge, hopefully very useful to you. I hope you get the best out of him. And also Technology Sukor, our patron of the industry and my good friend too. And hopefully he can motivate you to have a very unique space of your own within the context of the environment we are talking about. Thank you very much. And I will meet you again in the next session. I will continue to stay here and listen to the Q&A session. And if there is anything you need from me, you can also chat in the Q&A box. And maybe at the later on, we can exchange more information. Thank you. Thanks for the organizers. Bravo team. Bravo to all of you. Take care. Thank you.
What a remarkable and a very insightful speech. Thank you so much, Mr. Anwar. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, we are also streaming live on our SPEKL YouTube channel. To those that just joined us, I would like to welcome all of you and thank you so much for joining us today. Without further ado, let us begin with our first session talk for today on road to net zero emission by 2050. Together with us, we have a distinguished speaker with 20 years of experience in the field of climate and energy, that covering GHG monitoring and verification, energy efficiency and management, flaring and venting, reduction in upstream oil and gas. He was also involved in renewable energy, carbon capture, utilization and storage, carbon trading and offsets, green buildings, and sustainable development. He had successfully led registration of 12 carbon offset projects in Malaysia under the UNFCCC Clean Development Mechanism and earned the first carbon credit for Southeast Asia and Malaysia back in 2005. He has also led in climate change expert during the National Green Technology Roadmap development and in series of Malaysia National Communication Reports to UNFCCC, and have been instrumental in development and implementation of climate actions, such as Petronas Position and Framework on Climate Change and Petronas Carbon Commitment, which includes the introduction of internal carbon price, and disclosure of GHG target. He is currently the head climate change, environment and social performance group at HSE Petronas. Let us welcome Mr. Thirupathi Rao to deliver his presentation on net zero emission by 2050.
Hi.
Hello.
Hope you can hear me. Yes, I'm going to share my screen a short while. So I'm going to put in a full screen presentation mode. Second. Right. Can you see the screen? It's clear. It's fine.
It is fine.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So let me proceed. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm quite honored to speak to the youth. Always excited to speak to the younger generation. It inspires me, and with a lot of questions that you guys have and different perspectives always. The topic that I'm going to talk about is a topic of present and future, which is net zero. What is net zero, and how is this energy industry is going to move in the next few decades? So that's very interesting for somebody who's stepping into this energy industry and into this career of energy industry. It's very interesting to see how it's going to move, right? So let me go to the next slide. As you know, you can see the full screen, right? Nothing is blocking, right? Yeah, just want to make sure that nothing's blocking you. Yeah, okay. You know that the basic problem that we have, the Earth is being warmed by the sun, and the greenhouse gases, the blue color, has been protecting the Earth so that it contains the heat and the life can sustain on Earth. The problem has been, as Anwaruddin has mentioned, for the past 100 years or so, we have been extracting a lot more fossil fuels and chopping down more trees and forests, which are supposed to absorb the CO2. So we are enhancing the emissions of greenhouse gas, which are carbon dioxide, methane, and N2O, nitrous oxide. These are three main greenhouse gases, and all the other fluorinated gases, which is NF3, SF6, sulfur hexsulfuride, HFC, and PFCs. These are all 7 greenhouse gases. The more the gases are around the Earth, it started to warm the Earth, and it's like the Earth is wearing a thick blanket, and the heat is being trapped, and that's why the global warming is happening. So for the past 20 years, the scientists has been debating, or almost 30 years plus, the scientists has been debating with the rest of the world and the political powers and the people who has the power to change, saying that this is a human cost. Just recently, in the last few reports from the scientists, it was said that it was very clear. It was you can't dispute anymore that this global warming or climate change is caused by humans, and because of that, the things that's happening like coral bleaching, extreme weather events, hurricanes, migration due to flooding, droughts, mass extinction is happening for species. So how is this impacting us at home here? I have some slides later, but this is very important to understand that the science is very clear that we need to do something, and we have been the cause of it. So where is this greenhouse gas emissions coming? You may think that you are not doing anything, you're just living a normal life that you and your parents have been living normally. But that's where the problem comes, where most of the transportation that we are using, the electricity and heat that we are using at home, and the industries has been causing a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. There's a small bit coming from other areas, that from the waste that we throw from the house. But the land use of change, because we need to build houses, because we need to build roads, because we need plantations, we have to cut down the forest. So that's why the land use change is also contributing to a lot of emissions. we need to eat rice, the paddy fields, we need meat for survival and so on. So all those agriculture activities is actually also causing a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. So this is, we are the cause where we are the demand side, you know. So the demand side of energy is actually causing, and also for other use of timber, food, the waste that we generate, all those things are causing the greenhouse gas emissions, which is the economic development. And then the biggest greenhouse gas is actually carbon dioxide, more than 2/3, 77%. And the second highest is methane, which is around 25 times more harmful than methane. And the nitrous oxide, the third highest, which is around 7%. You can see all the other fluorinated gases are around less than 1%. Some of these gases you can recognize, they are in your aircon refrigerants and so on. Some are in electrical insulators like SF6, sulfur hexafluoride. So this is the composition. So what's happening to these gases is actually advancements from the machineries, from the James Watt and all those 1800 inventions. We went into robotics and super advanced robotics today. For the past 100 years, the way we manufacture and use our products, right? Responsible, we need to relook into responsible production and consumption. This is the circular economy I'm talking about. So if you talk about the 17 SDGs, I can relate closely to climate change. Of course, all of them are closely linked, but if you say you can make a change, you can make a change through these four here: affordable and clean energy, the industry, innovation and infrastructure, responsible consumption and production, and climate action. Don't think that the greenhouse gas is just about one SDG there, but all these things about using renewable, innovating the products, and also reduce, reuse, and recycle kind of concepts are also part of greenhouse gas mitigations, right? So these discussions have been happening in the world for the past 30 years, as I said. Actually, 1972 is where the first environmental movement came in, after the famous book by Rachel Carson, The Silent Spring, where the environmental movement started in the world. And then if you look into the next few decades, 1992, where the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was established. And then ever since then, many other conferences has happened, but important one to note is Kyoto Protocol, opt-coted, which was 1997, but actually took in force only in 2005. And then the Copenhagen conference is quite important, where this is the first time Malaysia has pledged for a reduction of greenhouse gas intensity. And then the Paris Agreement, which is the ultimate agreement that we are talking about today. Many people often overlook that in 1992, there were 3 conventions which was launched at the same time. United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, another one on Convention on Biodiversity, and then another one, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. These 3 conventions is still ongoing, but the most famous one is climate change because it's impacting both the other 2. Right now, the scientists are coming together. If you look into from the global perspective, come back to Malaysia, is this real here? There is an article from the right-hand side. It's saying that if we don't address climate change, it may cost around 8 billion ringgit to the Malaysian economy from the damages of climate change, which is already around last 2 decades, it already like costing 0.13% of GDP. But this number will getting worse and more, right? As more and more catastrophic events like floods, droughts, those unpredicted events are started to happen. So the impacts of climate change is already felt in every single country. The problem is if it is 0.8 degrees, the impacts are lesser. The problem becomes worse with the temperature becoming 1 degrees, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 or 5 degrees, right? So we are going for a very difficult, irreversible situation if temperature exceeds more than 2 degrees and 1.5. So the scientist has been looking into the way to limit this to 1.5 degrees. I'll come back to 1.5 degrees. So it's not like Malaysia is not doing anything about it. If you look into the past few decades, there has been some solid policies given by the Malaysian government, which is the National Climate Change Policy 2009. Same year, we have a National Green Technology Policy. And then recently, we have the National Biological Diversity Policy. And then we have recently revised our national determined contribution to unconditional of 45%, which was just this year again. We revised it to upscale. And that sets a policy level. So can you guys hear still? Right. Just want to check. Right.
Clear?
Yeah, clear.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Clear.
Okay, so yeah, and secondly, when a lot of things happening on the ground in Malaysia as well. The labeling you can see on the left-hand side, red color. I was involved as a consultant back in 2005 in Energy Commission before joining Petronas and so on. The 5-star label still there in your fans, refrigerators, and TVs that you buy. So it's to promote more energy efficient equipments at the end use. And then from SEDA was established, Sustainable Energy Development Authority, looking into renewable energy in the electricity. And then we have net energy metering 1.0, 2.0. Now we went into a 3.0 with the different contract terms, right? So all these things has been happening on the ground. But the problem is still there. The greenhouse gas emissions keep on growing despite all the efforts that's coming from each countries. Because the climate challenge is like population is growing, economy is growing, we need more energy, but at the same time, we need less warming. So the problem is the reality of energy transition is we need to move faster into low carbon fuels. The concerns are the pace that we are moving is not good enough, right? And the low carbon solutions need to be there with the question of affordability. It cannot be too expensive also. So this is the reality of energy transition where we cannot move into pace because of these two issues. So the Paris Agreement in 2005 supposed to be the landmark for the energy transition to happen to low carbon. So after 2005, there was 2018, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they came out with this report of 1.5 degrees saying that we should limit the 1.5. How to do that? There's few scenarios, the P1, P2, P3, P4, 4 possibilities, right? The first possibility, the best, is to immediately reduce drastically, right, from 2020 onwards and reach to around 50% reduction by 2030 or 2035. And then we go to almost net zero by 2060. This is just with a lot of reduction on greenhouse gas emissions and a little bit of use of the afforestation. That means afforestation means you plant the trees, you don't chop the trees, right? You plant more trees in the areas where there were no trees before. So this is called afforestation. The next scenario, you can see the blue, the yellow color. It is called BECC CCS, BECCS, which is bioenergy CCS. You know, biomass is carbon neutral. And when you capture the CO2 from the stack of the biomass boilers or gas turbine generators, so you will put the CO2 back into the reservoir through CCS, reinjection. Through that, this yellow color stuff are called negative emissions. So in other words, if you don't reduce the gray color stuff as soon as possible, like look into the last scenario, if you decide to drag and delay the reduction of GHG emissions, you need to do a lot more, the bioenergy CCS, and a lot more in terms of the carbon sink, right? This is the challenge. It's going to cost today to reduce the gray, or it's going to cost tomorrow to invest into the yellow. It's always a cost of today or tomorrow. So if you look into net zero, what is this? Net zero doesn't mean zero, right? Imagine you have a pail here, and if the pail is full and water spills out, it is 1.5 degrees. You have already exceeded. So the game is, imagine this is like a game, and you don't want to spill over the bucket, right? So you need to limit to 1.5 degrees. How do you do that? First thing is you need to enhance more sinks. That means more trees need to be planted. You need to do carbon capture and storage inevitably, and then also the bioenergy CCS. Direct air capture, there's a technology that people are talking about. All those things requires solutions from engineers like you and me. And then at the same time, you know that the population will increase, the energy demand will grow. So there will be still input coming in and you need to take out. So the delta of the input and delta of the input and output should be always balanced. So that's where the net zero could be attained. This is as simple as input and output should be equivalent so that you don't spill over the bucket. That as simple layman as I can go on net zero, right? This is a graphical form, just saying the same thing of a bucket. The emissions are high today. You need to reduce to around SBT, science-based target. You need to reduce to 50% roughly by mid-century, by before 2050, another 10, 15 years. And then drastically you reduce to ALAP as low as reasonably possible. And the balance, you need to look into the carbon removal technologies because it's almost impossible to remove everything to zero because there will be still emissions when we do some activity, human activities, right? So IPCC and many other people have been looking into scenarios. Is this possible or not? Is this possible? And energy sector has a key role to play. There's many current policies, whatever the government has pledged and so on, can only give you 2.7 to 3.1 degrees, which is already going to have a lot of catastrophic impact and irreversible things, right? The pledges that people have been pledging now, it can go to 2.4, still high. The optimistic net zero targets that people are putting can go to 2, but if you want to go to 1.5, that is, it's almost like very difficult, right? Latest report from IPCC is saying that we will exceed 1.5 degrees in every single possible scenarios. It's like if you're watching the Marvel Studios picture, the end game, in every single possibilities, there's very slim chance to defeat Thanos. So imagine climate change is this Thanos, this entire economic development and the whole world is moving right into a destruction is like what Thanos is trying to do. And the possibility is almost slim. You need a team of Avengers like you and me and the whole world to do that. Recently, net zero, the International Energy Agency came up with a roadmap. It is not the roadmap. I want to stress. They said this is a roadmap. That means this is just one of the possibility, like what Dr. Strange will say, right? There's a few possibilities. This is one of the possibilities where you can defeat climate change or Thanos if you want to. So the idea is you need to decarbonize the electricity sector very fast. The blue color ones, you see, that's the first one. Then the industrial emissions from cement, iron smelters, and so on need to be decarbonized. This next fast again. Transport need to decarbonize fast. That means the reduction of, you can already see what's happening is the reduction of demand for fossil fuels in the electricity industry and transport gas will be reducing if you follow this roadmap. You can go through the details of the roadmap, you can download, right? This is quite interesting. I just pick up a few slides there. If you see here, the clean energy technologies, right, roadmap, they will ramp up. They are saying that the wind and renewables, in terms of renewables by solar, it's not that far. 10 years from now, they're going to quadruple into 4 times than the current capacity, around 200 gigawatt to 1000 gigawatt. That's a huge jump. Look at the opportunity, the business, the type of jobs that you'll be getting in this. The electric cars, 18 times higher, just another 9 years from now, right? 18 times higher. You might be seeing next in Europe, they are no more selling ICE, internal combustion engines, in 2030 onwards. So this is going to be a huge jump. And then the energy intensity per GDP, they're going to decouple, right? That's another subject. The next day, another time I can talk about it. And if you look into the global energy security indicators, right, you're saying that in terms of oil supply, if this is just following this roadmap, this is again a roadmap, it's not the roadmap. So a possibility of reaching 1.5 is this. And if that possibility of reaching 1.5 is true, that they are saying that the oil supply will actually reduce, and the OPEC share, if you see the 52%, is going to increase because the OPEC will continue to produce oil and gas. The non-OPEC might be shifting. So this is what it means, that the oil supply will be reducing. The increase in mineral demands, that's another thing, right? Rare earth, because of the lithium ion batteries and all those things, the mining sector might not be coal, but in terms of minerals, there's going to be a huge demand, huge job opportunities, and a huge demand going to come from there. And also the solar PV, wind, and electricity generation is also growing in tandem to graph number 1. Based on this might be an interesting slide for you guys. The global employment, future employment look from same International Energy Agency, I picked up here. If you see, oil and gas will be still there. Yes, it's not like it's not end, but yes, it's there. But if you look into the growth will be mostly from the electricity. There'll be some losses in the oil and gas and coal industry. Coal is much bigger. And also in the electricity industry on the conventional thermal power generation. But there's a huge growth in the electricity, which is energy, and also the bioenergy, which is also very important to take note. So these are the growth areas for the jobs in the next 10 years. Now, I'm not talking about 30 years by the time I retire. No? It's just in the next 10 years, you and me still will be working. So the question is, a roadmap is possible, but is this actually possible? So just give you a reflection. Energy transition is not new. The world has seen energy transition. If you see this picture here, this is a Stone Age picture. And you know, a serious thing that has happened that has transformed the Stone Age. My ex-boss used to give a joke. He says that, Thiru, do you know that the Stone Age didn't end because not enough of stones? It's not because it's not enough of stones. Why did the Stone Age actually ended? I started to research a little bit, and you know, the Stone Age ended because there was a new technology which people started to use metals. That's why the Stone Age ended. The type of tools that you can see here were stones, and after that we went into metal, and then after that we went into different technologies, digital, steam engine, and so on. Then now we're into a digital technology, Industrial Revolution 4.0. So COVID-19 has changed a lot of things. I also jokingly say there was a BC, you know, people say BC and AC. BC is before COVID, AC is after COVID lah. So I think the definition of BC and AC will be changed, I think, after this also. So these are the eras that centuries that you're talking about is the era of wood. People have transited into coal as a new fuel emerged in 1800. And by after World War II and so on, the petroleum and natural gas, the fossil fuels started to take over the world, right? So we used to be a biomass world in the wood era, and totally we shifted into fossil fuel. And I think the energy transition is talking about an era where we are going back into the renewables, which is more of the green color. This is not a simulation, but it's just, I'm giving you an illustration of this is possible in a time frame of a few hundred years. I'm not talking about few millions of dinosaur age and different millenniums, right? I'm just talking about within a few hundreds of years, the energy transition has occurred, and this will happen again. So it's possible. So Petronas, coming back to the story of Petronas, we have foreseen this, and as a responsible company, we have renamed ourselves as we are no more oil and gas company. We are an energy company. We are a progressive energy and solution partner, enriching life because the social element comes in for a sustainable future from the entire economic, environment, social, and also the governance angle, right? In order to look into this in a holistically, we have these 4 lenses of sustainability, which I said, economic, social, environment, and the governance. And we are focusing on 7 SDGs, including providing scholarships and education. The 7 SDG 7, 8, 9, 12, and 13. I'm not going to go into the details. And we have some short-term targets. It's not just a talk. I think it's also we have to walk the talk. So we have some short-term targets of capping our emissions by 49.5 by 2024, short-term. We are going to increase our renewables to 3,000 megawatt. A few years back, we only have a 10 megawatt. So going to 3,000 megawatt is a huge increase. And then we are going to increase the beneficiaries on a Petronas education program to 24,100 people by 2024. And we have a long-term aspiration of net zero to support the Paris Agreement and the Malaysian government, NDCs, and so on. We can't do this alone. We need to do a lot of collaboration like what we are doing here. So let me explain what is net zero definition as Petronas, because net zero is different from carbon neutral. And then we have a definition of net zero carbon emissions, which is somewhere in between of these definitions, because there's no global definition today. So we have to define what we are talking about. So in our own definition in Petronas, we say it is about reducing scope 1 and scope 2 greenhouse gas emissions under Petronas asset under operation control only, not those that we are having a small equities. And then the balance we need to offset, right, with carbon offsets. So what is scope 1 and 2? Scope 1 is all the greenhouse gas emissions happening within the boundary of the organization. Like I use gas turbine compressor, gas turbine boilers, gas turbine generator, company-owned vehicles for mobile combustion. There could be flaring and venting from offshore, onshore facilities, fugitive emissions leaks from the valves and flanges, the process emissions when you produce urea or when you crack the methane into carbon dioxide and hydrogen production. There's a lot of CO2 emissions is possible. So all those things are called direct emissions. But at the same time, I also take electricity from the grid. Maybe I buy from TNB or Sabah Electricity Board or Sarawak, but I'm not burning the fuel. I'm not responsible on deciding what fuel, what type of energy source to produce electricity. But indirectly, because I want this electricity, somebody has to supply. And that guy is supplying using a choice of fossil fuels and renewables in the mix. So there is a grid emission factor, which is determining how clean is the grid. So that's coming very important as the boundary of, because I have a demand, if I can reduce the demand, the emissions will also be reduced. So that's such a way. Remember the labeling of the refrigerator, the 5-star I talked about, that comes from here. Reducing the demand side management will help to reduce greenhouse gas management in the electricity sector. That's why the label was created 15 years back. Yeah. So now the reductions, you can do energy efficiency, carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Petronas is doing a big project, a first of its kind offshore. Maybe it will be the biggest offshore in the world in a platform called Kasawari in Sarawak, right? And then we have a renewable energy. And then we have the carbon offsets coming from energy type of offsets, which is more switching to high carbon to low carbon or switching to renewable. Another one is the forest waste, which is you are planting the trees or you avoid chopping the trees, right? There's two ways of doing this. So that will be, if you net zero, I'm going to going fast because I give question and answers later. And here, there's 4 ways of doing this. The operational excellence is reducing energy efficiency and reducing flaring and venting and so on. Just by doing operational excellence, you might be a Kodak or Nokia, which may disappear, right? So you need to innovate and go into low carbon energy solution. So Petronas is looking into renewables, bioenergy, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, low carbon products and other circular economy concepts, right? Recycle polyethylene and so on. Many other concepts, waste to hydrogen. A lot of things are being R&D down today in the company. So that going to the next segment of technology innovation as an enabler in order to continue to produce the fuels at the lower carbon, like carbon capture storage, you need to come in because we have a lot of reserves of gas, but these gas are contaminated. As for SPE, you know that contamination could be mercury, H2S, and CO2 is the largest contamination that's happening in the reservoir. So we need to manage the CO2 in the reservoir. So technology like carbon capture and storage, the membrane that Petronas has patented, the 2-stage membrane, double-stage membrane, it's all the proof of technologies that we are investing to manage the business, grow the business, and then take the money and put into this purple color new business opportunities and go that, right? Then the last option is then let's go back and look into conservation of forests within Malaysia. We are working with the Malaysian government so that we can have biodiversity ecosystem services, supply of water. There's no water crisis. So we can continue to live here in harmony. So there's various climate actions that I'm not going to go through in detail. Those are like promoting natural gas, managing methane, flaring, venting, energy efficiency, even our fuel Primax 95, 97 efficiency at the customer side. We are using carbon price as an enabler, and adaptation to climate change is also important, that you can continue to reduce, but you know that climate change is going to come. Sea level rise is going to happen. So you need to see which are the places will be sinking or not sinking by 2050 with the sea level rise, whether it's going to be 1 meter or 2 meters sea level rise going to happen in Malaysia or not. So those kind of things need to be done. What as an individual, this is also important. Last one, right? Now, two more slides. So you need to change the way we use, we need to change the way we use the resources, right? Example, I in my own house, you have to walk the talk. This is my house here. I have a solar panel and I also have a solar water heater, both. So I try to keep my electricity bill less than very minimal, less than 50 ringgit if possible, because I'm working from home. Otherwise, there'll be almost zero there, right? So that is the way that you do energy efficiency and looking into renewables. Buy low carbon products. If you're buying from Lazada or whatever it is, right? Try to buy the local products so that you reduce the transportation of things. Use energy efficient equipments, the aircon, fans, TVs, and so on. Use public transport if possible, wherever you are trying to go. You can use electric vehicle provided the grid must be clean. If the grid is full of coal, using electric vehicle is almost as bad as using the internal combustion engine as well. So reduce travel then. So that's why the reduce comes always number first, reuse and then recycle, right? And last portion is I wanted to highlight that we need to be the net zero hero. Always people say zero is not hero. No, net zero here means hero. What you can do, you can categorize what you can control, what you can influence. Consume less, right? It's very easy. Do less shopping. You think you're very easy? Try to open the Lazada and all those other Shopee and all the other websites. Less shopping is a little bit difficult to control your desire when you're working from home, right? Because your phone is always there within your 4-inch palm. So buy local products if possible, right? And these kind of concepts are coming in, like EU carbon border adjustment, CBAM is coming. So this carbon tax in EU, border carbon tax coming, they want to protect the local industries and so on. Belilah Barangan Buatan Malaysia, that was 1980s, but actually those things are very, very relevant to the low carbon today and economy. Mobility, I already talked about. If possible, plant a tree at the back of your house, right? Whenever you have, and take care of the tree, right? Try to see how difficult is that to make the tree to grow. And then what can you influence? The problem is you don't hear climate change every day in the in the news. So you can advocate some things, like you have to read more, tell friends and family members, share more on the social media. You can write articles and blogs, and you can give talks and seminars like this. So congratulations and thank you very much for SP for doing this and champion in organizing such events like this, right? Congratulations to you. So if it's too much to digest, just remember these 3 things for you. Start changing behavior in purchase and use of low carbon energy and resources at home and at company we work. Plant trees in space where you're allowed and you can take care. Try to influence the behavior as an individual in the company you work, in the countries, right? And to do the above 2. So by changing the demand, we will be able to change the supply. Supply will follow suit. Thus, the enabling energy transition, you and me can make net zero 1.5 degrees possible. So thank you very much. I'll end the presentation. Sorry if I take a little bit longer time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thiru. That was very informative indeed.
Yeah.
So we will go straight to the Q&A session, as we have a quite number of questions from the participant. And I'll choose the first question coming from an aspiring graduate. He or she asked that, hello, sir. Oh, which one? Wait, from Abdul Hamid. Hello, sir. What is climate change adaptation?
Climate change adaptation means the word adaptation is already there. Adapting to climate change, because when example I give you, the relevant one to Malaysia is Malaysia used to have a rainfall in the geography books, if you study, around 3,000 millimeters of rain, right? So in climate change, if you see, you say that you still get the 3,000 millimeters of rain, but the rainfall pattern over the 12 months is different. Recently, there was a big a flood happening in Gunung Jerai, if you remember, right? What is the cause? Because the rainfall that's supposed to fall for a month or so has fallen over, the downpour was so, precipitation was so heavy, it fall over the span of 3 or 4 days. So that has given a torrential flow of water and caused this catastrophic extreme event, right? So how do you adapt to this kind of situation? So that's why it's called adaptation to climate change, right? Temperature may increase. If you design a heat exchanger, how would you design if the delta is no more between 22 to 30 degrees? Because the ambient temperature has increased to 1-2 degrees. So your design of your heat exchanger will be different. So how can this plant be operating at the same as before, especially like if you're dealing with LNG plant? And I'm talking very technical because all of you all are technical, right? So I'm talking about you're operating an LNG plant and you need to do cooling of the gas to become super low, right? So this kind of delta changes 1-2 degrees is going to give you a big design impact, right? In that kind of cooling that you need to go for LNG from natural gas to LNG. So this is adaptation from engineering point of view. Example, when you and me study the science and geography, we know that CO2 in the atmosphere was oxygen 21% and nitrogen and so on. When it comes to carbon dioxide, the number used to be 0. How much is that? 0. It depends when you graduate lah. I always say depends when you did your those studies in 1970s. They will say the number is 0.28. But if you take the geography books today, it is no more 0.28. It's almost going to 0.3 something, and actually it's 0.4. So the CO2 in the atmosphere has increased. That means the CO2 in the seawater is also increasing. That means the moment you design your pipelines and the material you select, you need to increase the corrosivity. The corrosion will increase exponentially with the increase of CO2 in the water, right? So how do you design this pipes, and do you want to make it a CRA, corrosive resistant alloy? So all these things becoming adaptation from engineering perspective, which is very relevant to the industry. This is adaptation. Right? Maybe next question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Thiru. That's very informative. The next question coming from Abdul Hakim. Hello, sir. Nice presentation. I would like to ask a question regarding electric vehicle. How much reduction of carbon could be achieved if all the vehicles in Malaysia are electric fueled? Yeah.
Okay. So the first question is, do you think there will be a reduction? Right? It might not be, because that's why I said we need to be careful about electric vehicle. Electric vehicle need to be supplied with electricity. So the question is where the electricity is coming from. So do you know that Malaysia has been increasing the coal-fired power plants over the past 10 years? So yeah. So
excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glory, can you please move your mic? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry for disruption.
That's disruption. Somebody got excited with the coal-fired power plants. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
So the grid emission factor in Peninsular Malaysia is 0.7 tons of CO2 per megawatt hours. That means every megawatt hour it's emitting 0.7. But if you go to Sarawak, because there's a lot more hydro there, the factor is 0.2. That means almost 3 times lower. So you can use electric vehicles in the places where the grid emissions is lower. If you go to Norway and Scandinavian countries, they are fully renewable, almost renewable. So that's why Europe is actually going for electric vehicles, because they know that they don't have that much of coal-fired power plants. They have nuclear power plants which are carbon neutral. So if you go for electric vehicle and still burning coal to produce the electricity, that doesn't make sense. So you might increase the emissions, actually, right? So you have to do the math. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Let me check another question. Okay. Coming from Nurin Laili, hello sir. As Malaysia need to reduce 45% emission by 2030, what will happen if we reach bottleneck and cannot reach the goal? Malaysia energy majorly come from solar, water energy, biomass, and fossil fuel. Wind energy is not conventional in Malaysia. What other possible energy we can venture to reach our goal? Mr. Thiru, you can
Okay,
answer.
I think
Thank you.
the commitment to the Paris Agreement is by the country, not by companies, right? So it's a country. So if the country don't meet the obligation, there's no it's not a binding rule, you know. So there's only a name and shame. Example, US don't want to join. Actually, they joined, and after that, the Donald Trump came in, and after that, they don't want to join, and they repeal a lot of laws in US. But what happened is it's just more of the name and shame. There's no repercussions directly. There was no embargo on certain countries, right? Those things doesn't happen. Sanctions were not given. There's no economic sanctions or things like that. So it's a common responsibility. It's called CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility. This is a part of Article 3 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, saying that everybody has the equal common responsibility, but they are differentiated from a developed country and developing country. So we have agreed for a 45% on a voluntary basis. If you can't meet it, it will be a name and shame. But the thing is, everybody is going to meet, and if you don't meet, yes, it's a name and shame. But so that's why the country has the plans, and from what I have seen, it's not disclosed yet. It is possible for country to go to 45, but the problem is 45 is not enough. 45% reduction is not sufficient to go to 1.5 degrees. I've shown you the trajectories of all the existing plans from Japan, US, and everybody, right? I'm just not talking about Malaysia. Every other country pledge that given by every other country is not sufficient to meet 1.5 degrees. So we need to increase the ambition. So the Paris Agreement is built on saying that Malaysia has given the intensity target 45%, and that target need to be reviewed and renewed every 5 years, right? So the next one in 2023 or 2024, Malaysia need to go back and say whether we want to keep to 45 or we want to reduce it further. So the bar is going to keep on going down, and it's not going to be 45 until 2030.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So we are bombarded with a lot of questions, sir. So this one question from Azrudi. He said, hi, Mr. Thiru, thank you. In your opinion, the method to mitigate emissions in order to address climate change is to deploy more renewables. How do you feel about cutting off forests for solar farms?
Oh, it shouldn't be. That's why the concept comes from the angle of they call a just transition. You know, just transition. A transition of energy has to be in a just manner. Just means adil lah, right? Adil dan saksama. So justice is not only for the human rights, the social angles. It's also from the justice to the environment, biodiversity. So those kind of stuff are not actually encouraged and should not be done. So because you're putting solar panels where the forest supposed to already absorb the CO2, right? So we need to evaluate those kind of projects. Might not be sanctioned actually.
Okay, I see. Next question is from one of our committee, from Mrs. Fatin. Malaysia has signed a pledge for net zero agreement by 2050. Are we ready for that? We are still a developing country, unlike Europe, where sustainability has been strongly advocated and applied even to their governmental policies. Yeah. So
yeah, I think first of all, I don't think so. Malaysia has committed for net zero yet. Right. I think that's a fact. There has been some talks. Even I'm doing my PhD on that. But Malaysia have not committed for net zero yet. Right. Some companies have committed, like Petronas has committed, Malaysian Airlines has committed, a few others are committing soon. But the country has not committed. So in that sense, it is possible for net zero, right? As I said, it's possible. We need to make sure all the policies come together. That's the difficult part. The energy policies, not only for electricity, for the transport, building the cities, right? All policies from waste, managing forest, right? Increasing the carbon sinks. Like Malaysia has pledged to cap the forest to 50% of the total land mass, right? 50% of Malaysia should be forest, untouched. You know, we shouldn't chop those things. We have pledged this kind of stuff. So those kind of forest policies together with energy policies. Just now I highlighted a few policies. That's why I put the climate change, green technology, and forest also there, because those all policies need to come together to get this thing moving. Right.
Interesting. So next question coming from Glory. She said that why is bioenergy not getting enough attention like solar and wind?
Bioenergy. I think it's all from the economic reasons, right? Which one is more economical? And second thing, availability of biomass is also something that we need to consider. Right? How are we managing? Before coming to Petronas, I used to do this clean development mechanism, the carbon credit projects. So example, from the palm oil mills, there's many types of biomass. There's one type of biomass, which is after you take out the palm fruit inside, they call kernel. That kernel shell is equivalent to tempurung kelapa. No? It has the highest caloric value, almost half of coal, right? I think for around 20 megajoules per kilogram or 25 megajoules per kilogram. So that kind of heat value is there. And that used to be around 20 ringgit or so back in year 2000, I'm talking about, year 2000. And by the time I do the project in 2005, right, 2010, 2008, the price already skyrocketed to $100 per ton, from $20 to $100 per ton of palm kernel shells. So nobody wanted to give these palm kernel shells to people to burn in their boilers. So how to get this super expensive biomass? And you know what? People started to do pellets and started to export out of Malaysia because it fetched a better price in Europe than Malaysia. So this kind of economic reasons, it's always a challenge to get the biomass ready, right? Supply, security of supply, it's also a problem. And another thing is all these palm oil mills where all the biomass is deep inside some forests where there's no road to access to these places. I've been, you have to take 2 to 3 hours of a Land Rover journey to reach there in a bumpy road without a road, you know, to go to the mills. And imagine to take this biomass from there to put it into a power plant, and the grid is somewhere 50 kilometers, 30 kilometers from the palm oil mill inside the forest.
Wow.
Right. So this kind of studies was done back in year 2000. Right. I was there back in year 2000. I'm talking about 20 years back. And there are challenges then. There are still challenges today, but it doesn't mean impossible. I think innovation can bring a lot of biomass into commercial value. You and me has a role to play.
Yes, true. Next question coming from Firdaus. Hello, Mr. Thiru. When we talk about CCUS, we will need to bear in mind in the cost of capturing, injecting, and management of the CO2. How Petronas is going to profit from CCUS? If this is not profitable, how Petronas is going to fund the operation?
Okay, right. Yeah, CCS is definitely expensive, right? So you need to see the breakdown, the cost. The cost of CCS is capture, transport, and store, right? If you're looking from a CCS, from how the European things, you take from a coal-fired power plant and you put it into a reservoir. Where is all the coal-fired power plants and industrial area? East Coast or West Coast? You tell me, as a moderator, you know, right? Where's all the power plants mostly?
East Coast.
Yes, it's East Coast. Where is our oil and gas operation? South China Sea. Do you have anything in Sri Lanka? Nothing, right?
Nothing.
So everything is in the South China Sea, right? So how do you plan to bring that into South China Sea across Banjaran Titi Mangsa? We have done this kind of, evaluation before I come to Petronas. There's some studies on feasibility of CCS. So the transport cost, capture and transport is going to kill you, right? So the feasibility of CCS from industrial point of view, where all the East Coast is more developed than, West Coast is more developed than East Coast, is a challenging part. But for Petronas, when you're talking about high CO2 field, the high CO2 field is already in the middle of South China Sea, and you're taking from the reservoir itself, and you inject back to the reservoir itself. So you already reduce a lot of the transport costs and all those problems. The issue is about capture. So the problem is, when you take out the gas, you want to sell the methane or you want to sell the CO2? Definitely you want to sell the C1, C2, right?
Yes.
That is what you are interested. So if you take everything, and do you think you can just sell it like that? No. You like it or not, you need to separate it, right? You need to separate the CO2 and the methane through acid gas removal units and all those membranes and so on. So the cost of separation is inevitable. You have to invest as a project part of economics. So the incremental cost now is only the injection. You see, you already remove the transport. Capture cost is inevitable. So incremental cost is injection. So that's where, if we can develop the right technologies and reduce the cost and prove it through the economies of scale, and we can become industry leader, it is a very flagship strategic project for Petronas, because you have Natuna, Indonesia fields, you also have on the joint development area in the Thailand, there's a lot of high CO2 fields there. There's a lot of opportunities for us to work in the clastics or carbonates, whatever name it, right? I think more carbonate, CO2, high CO2 fields more than the carbonates, right? So you can talk more about selling this technology and become our competitive advantage of Petronas in looking into CCS. So it's not always cost, sometimes it's also the strategic area and foresight, saying that where the business development is going to happen, and you don't mind putting a little bit more extra money today to gain the competitive advantage for the business growth. So that is strategic thinking.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thiru. Okay, next question coming from Haziq Yazid. Do you think that the already industrialized countries with mature economies that have profited from unregulated emissions in the past should bear more burden with regards to net zero offsetting?
Yeah, this is the 26 years of discussion. This question is the 26 years of discussion. That's why they couldn't sign up a common agreement after Kyoto Protocol. This is the question, right? I was talking about the common but differentiated responsibility. That's the principle. Everybody have a common goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and prevent climate change, but you have a differentiated responsibility. If you look into the Maslow hierarchy theory, you can't tell to the poor guy who don't have rice on his plate to go and use the highest form of technology and renewable electricity and all those things to power his one light bulb in the house, saying that you put the money to pay to the higher cost of energy rather than to eat. You can't do that, right? So the differentiated responsibility that least developed countries and developing countries need energy, and they need a cheaper form of energy to do. So let them have the basic necessity. Almost a huge amount of people don't have access to electricity today, right? And then some people are abandoning schools and so on to promote green electricity, right? So you see the disparity of people don't have electricity, and you are pushing them to have green electricity. So which is fair, right? So this is a question that we need to answer about the developing countries should do more or we should do less. I think back to the question of where are we impacting the livelihood of people so we don't hit the rice bowl of people, right? Give the basics, and then we look into the best that we can do. Doesn't matter you're developing or least developed. Once climate change happens, everybody will be hit the same way.
Wow, we have a lot of questions. All of our participants are really intriguing with your speech, sir. So we have another question from Izwan Shamin. Other than using renewables and other low carbon technology, reforestation is another option for carbon offset. But I believe reforestation is insufficient. What else can we do?
Yep. I think if you look into IPCC, the 1.5 degrees report, or even the latest one, AR6 launched a two weeks back, a few weeks back, they are talking about the negative carbon technologies, right? Carbon negative technologies, right? It's not only just reduction, you're right, the negative technologies. There are a lot of technologies under research. They call direct air capture. That means there's a CO2 being removed from the atmosphere through a technology, right? Direct air capture. Besides photosynthesis, which is a natural process made by God, right? Just plant a tree and it'll do the job. But you can also do the active processes like that. BCCS, as I said, bioenergy CCS. These three things are highlighted in the IPCC reports, but it's not limited to that. I think we can also explore anything more than that, like turning CO2 into building materials, turning CO2 into cement. These are being evaluated using nanotechnologies to make a better carbon fiber for your bicycles and other stronger materials, right? Lighter weight materials is being evaluated. And there's also, because the utilization of CO2 is many aspects. You can look from a mechanical angle, the chemical angle, and also you can look from the biological angle, where there are some microbes can eat the CO2 and turn it into, this algae production from one angle. Another one is the microbes can take carbon monoxide and turn it into fuel, methanol, and so on. So these are called CO2 utilization technologies, right? So all these things are being investigated today. Some are coming out from the lab scale into more of a commercialization already. Right. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I guess this will be the last question, sir. Okay, yeah. From our committee, Atira, she asked, by looking at the perspective of our future leaders, what young professionals and graduates can do to achieve this journey towards the net zero emission, and how they can prepare themselves towards global energy transition?
Yeah, I think the world will not be the same as what my working experience and also Mr. Sukor and Anwaruddin, right? I think the world will be a different world for you guys. Even buying a house won't be the same. With the 2,000 ringgit salary, people can afford a diesel double-story house when I started to work. But I don't think so you can afford a double-story house even with a 4,000 ringgit salary, right? So the world is different, right? The world is different. The economy is different. The expectation will be even more different. If you look into the energy transition, the International Energy Agency, please go and read that book and understand and translate yourself where you want to be. Do you want to make a change in this industry? You need to pick up your knowledge on the niche area. I already given a hint. I think we keep on talking about CCS, right? I'm talking about carbon capture and storage, not only on that utilization technologies, right? Utilizing the CO2, how to how to produce green hydrogen, right? Hydrogen production, because you are a society of petroleum engineers, right? So I think you may need to revert yourself to become society of energy engineers, right? Don't limit to petroleum, because the things are converging. Things are converging. So energy is important. It's not petroleum. Petroleum is a source. And then you need to think about circularity. That energy, the use of petroleum might not be in the form of energy, but there might be, it will be, sorry, not might be, it will be, look into the statistics, it will be in the form of petrochemical industry. That industry is going to grow and grow in Asia. Look into all the projections. The demand for petrochemicals from the Asia is quadrupling. I didn't show that here because that was International Energy Agency. Yeah? It is not International Petrochemical Agency. So they would have painted a different picture. So don't be so myopic about this International Energy Agency, because just energy. The laptop, the screen, all those things you can touch on the lamination on your table, all petrochemical, no? The mouse, whatever you touch and see today in your house, look around, everything is petrochemicals. So these petrochemicals are the future, because this demand is going to be there. The question is, when you produce these petrochemicals, you need to be coming back to the from the R&D production use. When you throw, it should come back to the manufacturing again.
Mm.
That is called the circular economy. You have to avoid the linear economy. Take from petroleum, drill, take the naphtha, produce petrochemical, olefins, and after that, then you get all these chemicals, plastics, and everything, PVCs. Then you throw into the landfill. That is a linear economy. You have to change that. You and me has a role to play. If you invest your time and energy into this kind of places, this kind of technologies, this kind of R&D, this kind of companies, you definitely have a future in the petroleum industry, because that is going to grow.
I totally agree with you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So with that being answered, unfortunately, due to time limitation, we have to come to the end of our first session today. I would like to thank all of you for the participation and for the overwhelming questions that we received. On behalf of our committee, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude towards our speaker, Mr. Thirupathi Rao, for taking his precious time today out of his busy schedule. I believe with this sharing and insight would have shed some light to the audience and understanding this global issue on climate change and the roads towards net zero emission. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Thiru.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
to all the participants, please bear with us a little bit more. We will start the Kahoot session right after this, okay? Before we take a short break, and then we will continue with our second session on topic challenges towards energy sector for future graduates by our very inspiring speaker, which is T.S. Sukor. An amazing moderator awaits for you on this next session. With that, I would like to pass the baton to my Bravo teammate, Shazana and Afiq. Thank you.
Thank you, Shafika, and thank you again to our speaker, Mrs. Thiru. That was a very comprehensive discussion. Now, I would like to invite all of you to our next sessions, a very more fun activity, which is a Kahoot game. So we have a 50 ringgit cash to give away. So how it works? Okay. Sorry, let me share the Kahoot first. All right. So just head to your browser and search for kahoot.it, kahoot.it, or you can simply click the link given in the chat box. Next thing you have to do is you have to enter the game pin that we display in the screen. Key in 39449. 4697 3944697. Okay, we will see a few of people coming in. Thank you so much. And I would like to remind you to enter your real name, because it will easy for us for verification purpose later on. If you could use your real name instead of your nickname. Thank you. Right, already 20 people in the Kahoot. So while waiting for others to join, so there will be 10 questions you need to answer, and the questions are related to our first session discussion just now, just test your understanding on net zero emissions. How many? 40 people, right? So we will begin very shortly, because we can see a lot of people coming in and very excited to win a 50 ringgit cash. We will give the prize to the top 3 winners. Okay, just let me repeat for those who want to join. Just head to the kahoot.it or simply click the link given in chat box. You may enter the game ID 3944697 and enter your real name for verification purpose later on. All right, can we hit 88 participants? Okay, I think that is enough. Should we start, James? Or we wait till 60 people? All right. I think we should start now and we can lock the Kahoot. Yep, we will start on net zero emissions. So the first question will be, Petronas' aspiration is to achieve net zero carbon emissions by the year. Wow, this is a like super easy question, I think. So is it in 2100, 2020 already passed? So is it in 2050 or is it in 2035? Oh, okay, we have 38 who got it correct. So CEng is leading now. All right, and then for the next questions, which of these is not greenhouse gas? Which is this or is not greenhouse? Is it methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, or oxidants? This is not a greenhouse gas. Okay, thumbs up. 42 answer it correct, but unfortunately there is one who answered methane. Okay, we move to the next questions. We'll see who's leading. Dos. Okay. For the third questions, this is a multiple choice. You have to select one of more than one answer. So select the type of energy that is renewable. You may choose one more than one answer. Which of these is a new renewable energy?
Solar, wind.
Okay. Oh, okay. We have like very equal winner. Who is leading? Oh, it's all right. It changed to JJ. Okay, for the next questions, what we have, what is the equations made by Petronas to achieve net zero carbon emission 2050 aspirations? So this is going to be a very long question. It's okay, you still have time to answer it. Make sure you read the answer carefully. So what is the equation? Is it reduction minus offset plus emissions? See, all right. I think this is a quite tough question, is it? So 4 players have reached answer straight 3. So LL is leading. We move to the 5th questions. How can we reduce energy consumption? So this is a multiple choice. You can select more than one answer, and don't forget to click the submit button. If not, it will not consider you are answering. How to reduce energy consumption? Is it by apply, reduce, reuse, and recycle? Oh, we receive equal answer for all of you. So the answer is all is correct. So, okay, LL is still leading. So next question, where was the 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference held at? Is it at Paris? Is it at London? Is it at Kyoto? Or is it at Kuala Lumpur? So it's very simple one, guys. Come on, everyone have the chance to be on the top. Yeah, but we still have people who answer it wrongly. It's okay. We have time. Who's leading now? LL still leading now. So yeah, we still have. Okay, next question. We have 3 more questions. What does the acronym CCS stand for? This is very simple one. So is it carbonate capture and storage? Is it carbon cloud and storage? Is it carbon capture and storage? Or is it chemical convert and storage? A bit confusing. Better you read it very carefully. We have 32% who answer it correctly. So we see who's leading. Wow, LL is still on the top. Chen is making a comeback with 3 in a row. So for the next question, which GHG contribute to 2/3 of global emissions? Is it chlorofluorocarbon? Is it methane? Is it nitrous oxide or carbon dioxide? So which of these gas can be found dominant in our atmosphere? Yeah, it is carbon dioxide. And who's leading? Next. All right. Okay, move to the next questions. Is it true or false? Net zero emission is achieved when all GHG emission is reduced to 0. It can be true or it can be false. So yeah, a bit tricky. We'll see who gets it correct. Sarah, all right, we have 34% answered it correctly. So there is a different term in net zero and 0 itself. Okay, move to the next. Wow, Meadows is on fire. So but LL is still leading. Don't worry, this is the last question. You still have the chance. What does the acronym CFC stand for? Is it carbon dioxide? Is it chlorofluorocarbons? Is it chlorine or is it chlorophyll? This is a bonus question for the last questions. And the answer is chlorofluorocarbons. 44 got it correct. And do we have the winner now? Yep, we have the top 3 winners. The second runner-up is me and Y. First runner-up is Meadows, and the winner is LL. Congratulations to all the winners. Clap. Right, to all the winners, can I see your hands? Can you guys put your hands up so that just to let the committee contact you after this? Anyone? Yeah, I can see Liam Lim. Mohamad, can you take note on this? Okay, you can see. Okay, only one. All right, it's okay. For the winner, if you're not in the Zoom or maybe you're in the YouTube, you can contact our committee. We will put his email and contact number in the chat box so that you can claim your prize. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for the Kahoot sessions. I would like to congrats again to all the winners. Thanks for participating with us. So we will have a short break after this. So you can go to grab some snack or a drink. We will start again at 3:40 p.m. to continue with our second sessions with very inspiring speaker to talk on challenges toward energy sector future graduates. So stay tuned, guys. We will come back at 3:40 p.m. All right, thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope you guys are ready for our next session, for our second session. Okay, just give me a second. All right, everyone. So before we begin, here are some reminders for all the attendees. So attendees are asked to pay attention to the instruction in order for the event to proceed smoothly. All right, firstly, there will be a QR code displayed at the end of this session for the attendance and also feedback purposes. Secondly, participants are allowed to ask any questions throughout the chat box in the Zoom or through YouTube, or they can also ask during the Q&A session. And if you are lucky enough, I will call out your name and you can ask directly to our amazing speakers. Thirdly, please mute your mic during the talk is happening. And last but not least, there will be a photography session at the end of the program, and participants are requested to stay in the meeting until the photography session ends. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. All right, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, and a very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Afiq, and I will be your moderator for today. I am pleased to welcome you guys to our second session of intellectual talk entitled Challenges Towards Energy Sector Future Graduates During Pandemic, Low Oil Price, and also the Economy. So this talk will be focusing on empowering the youth during this challenging time, and I hope that the words from our amazing speakers will rise up our spirit and push ourselves beyond our limits to become an outstanding individual wherever we may be. So before we proceed, let me introduce our amazing speaker for today. All right, so he's a gentleman with a remarkable profile. So firstly, he's graduated from University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology in 2005. Now we call it as the University of Manchester. And then he jumped up to kickstart his oil and gas career in Schlumberger in 2006 as a field engineer. And then currently, now he is the Executive Director of FTech Drilling Solutions based in Kuala Lumpur. And recently, in April 2021, he was awarded as a fellow of Institute of Marine Science and Technology from United Kingdom. How amazing he is. And yeah, I will not spoil everything about him, like how Marvel did to the Spider-Man trailer recently. And I will pass the floor to TS Sukor after this. So ladies and gentlemen, I welcome TS Mohamad Sukor Zainal from FTech Drilling Solutions into our stage. Please welcome.
All right, thank you very much, Afiq, for the kind introduction. Okay, hang on a second. Let me share the slide first, yeah?
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
So yeah, so we are pleased to have you today, and we are honored to have you today into our talk. And thank you for your time for having with us today. So how are you, sir? How are you feeling?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. You know, it's an honor to be a part of the speakers in the I would say very encouraging as well as informative event. So yeah, looking forward to share with you what I have, as well as to answer some questions from the ground as well.
All right, Alhamdulillah. Thank you, sir. So yeah, before I proceed, I just have one question for you. So I've been looking on your LinkedIn and follow your stories, right? So are you an Iron Man or a Captain America?
I am Tony Stark.
Tony Stark.
Team Iron Man.
Iron Man.
For sure.
You see, guys, we have a Tony Stark for today. So if you guys have any questions, just go to the chat box and have some questions, and I will read that for you. All right. So, sir, I hope you are ready to burn up the stage.
Right.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's go. So everyone, let's welcome TS Sukor Zainal. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Saudara Afiq. Thanks for the introduction, and also very good question indeed. Yep. First of all, once again to SPE Kuala Lumpur, thank you very much for inviting me Thank you to the Bravo team of SPE Young Engineers, the mentors of SPE. I think you guys have done an impressive job. I'm honored to be the co-speakers today, along with all the esteemed speakers and respected industry leaders, TS Anwaruddin, yep, my friend, as well as Mr. Thirupathi. Obviously, I'm looking forward to meet you up, to present to you, to share with you what I have, the journey that I have to my beloved young leaders. I am Sukor Zainal, Executive Director of FTech Drilling Solutions. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to all of you. Okay, today, as mentioned by our moderator, Afid, I'm going to talk about the challenges towards energy sector for future graduate in the pandemic, low oil prices, and economic downturn. Right, okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, what is my objective today, ladies and gentlemen? Everything we do, we must set the objective, regardless if it is a big event or when it comes to the meeting or small day-to-day meeting that you attend. We need to have the objective, right? So you need to have the mindset to set the objective and set an aim in whatever you do. So my objective for today is simple, is to inspire you, inshallah, and to share something beneficial to you. Before we proceed, I need to share you my career journey. Why do I need to share my career journey? Because I think we all can learn something from it. Even myself, I keep learning every day. Yeah, I graduated from the University of Manchester, or formerly known as UNIS before. So lots of things happened when I was the student. The equation is never straightforward when I was a student. I don't have monthly expenses to keep me going. Yeah, so I got to work as my sponsorship just covered for university fees only at that time. I worked every day, including the weekend, in order to survive. Yeah. Then I had a broken leg in the final year. Imagine that. So what in the blue world happened to me at that time? So it was tough. You know, you want to fly, but you don't have wings. Your wings got broken. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you a story about the hardship that I faced as a student, as it will take another an hour for that speech. So to cut short, I joined the world's largest oil and gas service company, Schlumberger. You know that company very well. I started as a shy and quiet Malay boy, working in a very competitive international environment. I overcome the shyness by stepping up to take risks and challenging myself to be a better version of myself, right? I'm competing with myself to get better each day. I'm trained to be competitive in anything I do. I'm trying to be one of the best in anything I do. So this is the mindset that I carry on from the beginning until now. I always mentioned before, the right mindset is one of the key ingredients to be a successful person. I was then promoted to be a lead and senior engineer in less than 1.5 years seniority. I positioned myself as a top-notch engineer at that time. I never ever involved in any human error or mistakes. Yep. Touch wood, all the jobs I led all perfectly executed. Alhamdulillah, Schlumberger call it as excellent in execution. I led numbers of high-profile jobs during my tenure as an engineer, to name a few: Kinabalu KNY HPHT and PCPP drilling campaign. I was rated A rating by Schlumberger. A means outstanding when I was the engineer. Then in 2008, at the age of 26 years old, I quickly promoted to the management role. Within 2 years seniority time, I became engineer in charge and base manager for West Malaysia, Myanmar. Again, I maintained A rating while I was holding the management role. So at the age of 29, I was promoted as drilling services manager and account manager. I led drilling and management segment within Petronas Carigali drilling operation at that time. At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, I managed numbers of high-profile jobs, broke the world record in directional casing drilling, and numerous awards, and list goes on. So next, I was the operation manager. Yeah, I left Schlumberger, I would say, at the peak of my career as an A rating employee. You know, it's not easy to obtain A in Schlumberger. You have your mentor working in Schlumberger right now. You can ask her or him. I think I left my legacy there in Selamaje. I thank to Selamaje in transforming me to be the person I am today. And then I joined BHI in a short spell, but still able to leave an instant impact in leading the business in Brunei particularly. I think that is how I climb up from the engineer to the management in a world-class organization. Okay. Hang on a second. Okay, this slide, you have witnessed basically in brief how did I climb from the engineer to the management level. So now it doesn't stop here. This is the journey that I have as a top management as well. Okay. Okay, sorry, the animation is not popping up. Okay, it's there. All right, so I started my journey as MD and CEO of Energies Oil Field, Malaysia first drilling QA/QC consultation company in 2014 as well. At that time, if you remember, it was the economic downturn and low oil prices. That was a real test for me to lead the company. At one point, as a new company, I think it was hard for us to sustain it in a very challenging environment, right? And then in 2015, FTech Drilling Solution was finally set up, and incorporated. So this was the year as well that I got the third child. I think that's what it's easy for me to remember. The age of FTech is equal to my youngest baby. Okay, so did you know before EDS or FTech Drilling Solution was set up, myself and my partner Tuan Haji Said, we had to meet up at least 20 investors, and we have been rejected 19 times. So and to cut it short, I was appointed as executive director and operation director of the company. Okay, next, I think it's more towards the expansion journey of FTech Drilling Solution. In 2017, we expanded the business into data. Sorry. Yep. And then at that time, not so many local companies are into digitalization, but I do believe that we got to start earlier and become one of the driver in drilling digitalization. So the brainchild that we have started in 2017 became sensation, because as we are now one of the leaders in technical data drilling digitalization. And then in 2018, I was one of the pioneers to have certified myself as professional technologist. Okay, and then 2019, I was appointed as a IAP of UTP. The business goes on, we keep on expanding. And then in 2020, last year, Alhamdulillah, FTech Drilling was awarded as a 4-star rating by Petronas, 4-star by Shell, as well as SME Corp, right? And then we have received some award as well, Petronas Comstack Award, and then we expanded our RTOC business, and that was nominated for some other awards. And also I was appointed as a panel assessor of MBOT. And then this year, I was one of the youngest fellow of Institute Marine Engineering Science and Technology, United Kingdom. So CMarEST in a way is one of the historic, noble and credible organization. The life of late Prince Philip, the Queen Elizabeth husband, was the former president and honorary fellow of CMarEST. I was also chartered engineer by United Kingdom Engineering Council. I was also a chartered marine engineer. Business-wise, I think FTech Drilling, you could see from the slide, we are growing from 50 to 80 people right now. So I'm sure we will be growing more, inshallah. Imagine, guys, I started with 1 employee. FTech, we started with 1 employee in 2015, and now, alhamdulillah, we are gearing up to 80 employees, inshallah, maybe up to 100 employees. So that's it. That was my journey on how did I climb up from an engineer all the way to the post that I'm holding right now. Okay, so far macam mana? That was the introduction only. I hope you get pumped up, motivated, and inspired. Hope amazing. So. Yep. Alhamdulillah. Okay, now let's talk about the main topic that I was assigned to talk to you. challenges towards energy sector for future graduates, yep, especially at a time of pandemic, low oil prices, and in the economic downturn. I'm trying to segregate, ladies and gentlemen, the challenges of the pandemic in two different cases. Number one is the challenge that SME company has to face during the pandemic, and what FTAT ruling did in particular to combat the challenges. Number two, the challenge that you as a young generation have to face in a challenging pandemic era. So what you have to react or what you have to equip yourself with, right? So let's start with the first case study, current challenge in the oil and gas industry towards SME company. Okay. When it comes to the pandemic, the most notable that will be impacted is lack of job volume in drilling, is lack of drilling activities. Yeah, there will be lack of drilling activities, which is due to the travel restriction because of the pandemic. You know that. In some companies, the revenue shrinking up to 30%. There are some might be 40%. There are some 50% and more. Right. The struggles are real, not only for the company, you know, your friend, saudara kita, lots of people are struggling because of the pandemic. So one of the solutions here is to be creative and diversify. This is not the first time FTAT drilling solution had to face the economic challenges due to low oil prices. The first one was in 2015 when we have just been incorporated. What we did was still the same. We got to be creative. That's why I put on the slide there, creative and diversify your business, right? For instance, from directional drilling company, that was our core and aspiration when we set up FTAT drilling. So now we diversify ourselves as the RTOC company and then technical data company. So challenge number two is how to balance for the company. Yeah? It's how to balance between low revenue and employee retention. Yang ni kadang-kadang susah. Yeah? I'm sure you heard from the news that company A has released XX numbers on staff. The company B has to release XX number of staff, and company C has to cut some bonuses of staff. I believe you heard about it. There are some news in the newspaper and whatnot. So it's real. So at the end of the day, company must execute the plan to save the company future for sustainability, right? But in FTAT drilling, I would say, alhamdulillah, despite of huge struggle that we have to face, we kept our employee 100% so far. No one got released. I think some of FTAT drilling staff are here. I can mention Hafiz is here. He's our monitoring specialist. Thank you, Hafiz, for joining us, right? And then we maintain all salaries and bonuses from the first we got hit by the pandemic until now. No one got cut of the bonuses or salary. We, in fact, during Hari Raya this year, recently, we still gave some token or bonus to all our staff. So my message to all of you, young generation, there are still companies out there that still keep their employees during the pandemic, and there are still companies out there who are actively hiring. Okay, so don't be worried that much. Just focus on your studies, focus on your objective and mission. Okay, and FTAC are still hiring, to let you know. In fact, I think this month of August, we have hired an additional of 30 people in our company. I think that is good news to the industry and good news to all of you as well. Therefore, stay positive, keep believing. Don't think too much about is there anything for me once I graduated. Yes, keep believing and there will be something for you, right? The third challenge here, I think kita tak boleh lari daripada benda ni, is a work from home. I don't need to elaborate further over here. At first, we might find it difficult to adjust between work-life balance. While work from home ni, we are tend to work 24 hours a day. Setiap saat dan ketika, meeting all day long, right? But now I think after over a year work from home, I'm sure we're all able to adapt very well. For me, what is important while work from home is the communication, objective and productivity. Then not to forget about mental and physical health. That's why the balance is very important over here. So the last challenges that I would like to highlight here is the business expansion, right? Shall we just maintain as a company what we have, or shall we expand our business during the pandemic? The answer is always yes. It's a big yes for the expansion, because as a company, as a business entity, we always wanted to grow. You never know what is going to happen to your business in the pandemic. Therefore, expanding your business with new partnership and new venture will be a good business move to ensure sustainability of the business. Okay, now I'm going to show you the example of creativity I mentioned earlier here on the top point. The example of creativity that we at FiMarEST Solution have implemented during the pandemic. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, I presented this SPE paper titled RTOC transformation in remote location, right? I think this is the first, maybe in the industry, we executed this. So this is how basically you can see from the slide how we transform the physical RTOC from the Twin Tower. Yeah, we have the operation in the Twin Tower, and Menara Shell, yeah, to FTech drilling staff house. You could see the process when we mobilized the equipment from the Twin Tower on our own truck. I still remember at that time was 18 March 2020. That was the date when the Prime Minister was announced total lockdown would be implemented throughout the country. So we took very rapid, swift decision. We talked to the Petronas, get the consent, and then we mobilized like the Formula One transportation with 0 NPTs, in 0 interruption, in less than 24 hours from the initiation to the execution. So you can see over here from the homey, comfortable staff house of FTech drilling to eventually fully equipped and working RTOC, right? So just to share you the photo of our various remote monitoring facilities. Wangsa Maju is our staff house that we converted to be home RTOC. And then we also set up another home RTOC in Miri, in Kuching, in Negeri Sembilan. It's everywhere. This is how we got to react towards the pandemic. We cannot just sit down and wait for our, for our luck or fortune. We got to work on it, think out of the box, be creative, and inshallah we can survive, right? So this is the management visit. Myself and Tuan Haji Said, we visited the staff house during the first ever lockdown in 2020. You can see the togetherness of our team. Imagine at that time during the first lockdown, it wasn't easy, you know that, because we don't know how to react. This is the first time the human being, the mankind, facing the pandemic. So I would say over 12 months, close to 12 months, they spend their time together. That has certainly enhanced their bonding among the team. So lift up the team spirit and resulting good performance towards our client. So one of the guy here, I think he's here, Hafiz. So he's one of our expert and monitoring specialists. And then I think his vast contribution towards the first lockdown, I think should be applauded as well. So this is one of the examples of how we got to be creative when we are dealing with the pandemic. Okay, another example that I can share with you, what we got to do when it comes to the pandemic. So what we got to change our modus operandi, right? So here is the idea. This is, in a way, this is our common RTOC services in the box. So what we do here is, the idea is when you're at home or in remote operation, we are still able to visualize risk, mitigation, what to react in the platform that is attended by all stakeholders at their home and premise separately in remote location by utilizing what we call that as a drilling simulator. So this is another example that we at FTech drilling did during the pandemic. Okay, I think that was the story about the challenge of the company. Why I need to share with you the challenge of the company, because you got to work, you got to be in the employment, right? So You see the company is struggling, but as I said, no worries, right? The industry will be improved. The situation will get better. You just need to focus on your project and pursue your dream and your aim. Now, we go to your part. What you have to do, my beloved young leaders in the industry, right? Especially in the current challenging and competitive era. Okay. You can see here, I put down here, this is the era of competitiveness. You know that, right? And this is the world right now is very dynamic and fast world, okay? So the world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. So it will be the fast beating the slow. So more than a decade ago, if you remember, ExxonMobil, the top company, was the most valuable company in the world by market capitalization. So today it is surpassed by the data and tech giant. And they move very fast. The tech giants, for instance, they are here today because they are moving fast and becoming a pioneer in what they do. So kita ni, if we don't change, we will be left behind, right? So the oil and gas industry is changing at pace. So it's imperative that the necessary changes can be made to manage energy transition within business. As traditional practices are changing, a new technological and innovative mindset is required to ensure project success. Macam apa yang FTech buat tadi. Oil and gas companies are becoming energy providers through more diverse portfolios, including renewable energy, like what been presented by Mr. Thiru earlier. So this will ensure that these companies stay ahead of the curve, as well as making definitive step forward. Okay, number one, you see here, what you got to do, my young fellas, differentiate yourself, right? How? I put it here, through character and attitude. I always say, even in my posting on LinkedIn, right? Many times, I hire your attitude. I don't need you, even though you are the superstar, but you don't have a good attitude. I told many times that this is very competitive era. So how many of us right now got straight A's? How many of us got first class? There are many. Atau dalam bahasa senangnya, banyak budak-budak pandai kat dunia ni sekarang, right? I think during my time, at that time, to get the people who got straight A's in SPM, maybe there are not many, right? And then now time is changing. So right now it's very competitive. Maybe there are 40%, 50%, or 30% students in terms of SPM examination, they got straight A's. So the era is very competitive right now, right? So the world is bombarded with all budak pandai, as I mentioned. If you say that you are smart, pandai, the person A also smart, the person B also smart, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? So as the top management, the difference that I want to see from you guys as a candidate is the attitude and the character. I put it here, right? So the question is, macam mana nak build strong attitude and character? How can we build a good attitude and character, or positive attitude and character? So it comes from your hardship that you face. Itu sebab we don't mourn if you are being tested, because when you pass the test, this test will transform you to be a better person. The hardship of every person is designed uniquely and differently, right? Therefore, you must know God got the reason why he tests you this way, he tests your friend the other way, right? Because if you taking positively and bounce back from the test that you got to face, trust me, you are going to be a better person, because this hardship that mold you as a future leaders, as a great person and professional. Number two, okay? Sorry. Okay, number two, diversify. As a young generation, diversify your skills and learn to take risks. Okay, so whatever opportunities that you have in front of you, grab the opportunities. This is not the time for you to be picky and to be, luxury to choose here and there, right? Get out of your comfort zone. So taking risk is very important for me, right? I think, as I mentioned, I started as a shy engineer, but the things that triggered me or transformed me to be a outspoken and a visible engineer was, I still remember I took the risk. Maybe kalau nak cerita, there will be a long story. But I took that risk to run one new technology equipment downhole tool, even though at that time I wasn't been trained yet, but I took the challenge. I did all the mitigation measures. I led the job. From that moment, I think it changed my career. That's about taking risk, calculated risk, what I mentioned here. The next one, I think in the era of competitiveness, so a lot of us got rejected. Rejection will happen in our life, right? But remember, it's not the end of the day. Rejection is a redirection to a better situation, right? Believe it, right? Never giving up. So I still remember, actually at a time when I was graduated back in 2015, I got a broken leg. I couldn't, work straight away. My dream is to work for Petronas at a time, right? I went to the interview in Petronas in London. I still remember. CMarEng also, they opened up their booths in London, but I don't really, pay attention for CMarEng interview. But I think my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife right now, so she suggested me to go for the CMarEng interview as well. So I went to Petronas. To cut short, I was rejected. So I didn't feel satisfied. I thought that I was really performed very well in the interview, but at the end, I did not get selected. But I went for CMarEng interview and I was selected. And when I look back, I thank to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they assigned me or they put me in CMarEng career path because He knows better what basically our character fit towards our life journey and walk of life. Okay. The next one will be the mindset, right? The last one. So mindset, you must learn to have a positive and growth mindset. This is very important. So growth mindset ni apa? Growth mindset ni is for the people who believe in their abilities and intelligence that can still be developed with effort, learning, and persistence, right? So their basic abilities are simply a starting point for their potential. So your potential is enormous if you have the right mindset to success. So this is in the nutshell what I can share with you. If you can change the way you are right now, transform yourself, I can tell you, you will be a better professional. Okay, my last slide, I reckon. Change the mindset. I would like to touch about mindset over here in this slide. So Dan Stevens said, the comfort zone is the great enemy to creativity, which in turn configure a new perspective and conquers the fear. Comfort zone. That's why there are many of, I would say, our people, they tend to be comfortable in the comfort zone. They don't want to go out of their comfort zone, right? So, and aspect of human nature is that when we are in a state of comfort, there is no real urgency, true or not. If you're in the comfort zone, there's no real urgency for you. You relax and lepak je, right? To do something different or better. So these mental habits lead to the creation of comfort zone that we rarely step outside of it, right? So comfort and fear, I'm not sure whether you can see my cursor or not. Comfort and fear are intimately connected, right? So whether separate or together, they represent zones that many of us fall into and have trouble at times to finding a way out of, no matter how hard we try. So one of the biggest culprits in our life, tuan-tuan, puan-puan semua, is the fear or unnecessary fear, right? We are fear of failing. We are scared of the failure. So actually, the act of failing was a catalyst to learn from mistake and eventually implement ideas or create solutions that have fundamentally changed the world. So Henry Ford, with his famous quote said, failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently, right? Therefore, it's not the end of the world if you fail. Remember, failure is the journey to success. If you look at the zone of fear over here, that's why I think lots of people, they tend to give excuses, right? Mourning, itu tak kena, ini tak kena, right? So they, you tahu lah what's going on in this world right now, being politics here and there, and then focusing on the problem rather than mission and vision. Ini semua adalah under fear zone, right? So to overcome fear, so we got to learn to face challenges, see opportunities. Semua kat all the attribute under learning zone. So this is to help you to overcome the fear, right? Solve the problem, face the failure, acquire new skill, and learn from the failure. So because the main idea is, apa main idea daripada schematic diagram? So what is that? To find your comfort in the growth zone, supaya you guys semua selesa berada dalam growth zone. Once you achieve that, if you change your mindset now, you'll be able to face all type of challenges, name it, pandemic, low oil prices, or anything that may happen in the future, because you cannot stop. You know, oil and gas industry is very volatile, is very dynamic. Oil and gas prices is, you know, is full of volatility, right? Up and down, up and down. So the cycle will happen again, right? When we got back to where we are right now, maybe oil and gas back to normal, but at one point the cycle will goes back that we got to face with the economic downturn once again. So it's a cycle. So that's why your mindset, you got to change. If your mindset is right, you are able to face it. Okay, I think that's all my slide for today, right? So I thank to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, young generation. I think my wife and my kids as well, 11 years old, 9 years old, and 6 years old, are listening to this speech. They're always complaining. They said, Daddy always come up with a speechy word. Speech. That's the word or vocab that they created when they listen to me when I talk, right? So to all my staff, whoever joining for today, right? Thank you very much. Maybe my mother as well. I'm not sure. My sisters are listening as well. Assalamualaikum, Mak. So that's all from me. And for those who are not following me on LinkedIn, so that's my, I would say, LinkedIn, Sukor Zainal. So feel free to follow. Yeah, we keep on learning from each other from day to day, right? So I pass back to our moderator, Afiq. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Sukor. That was so inspiring. But I believe you are still holding back, right? There's still a lot of things you want to sell to us. So yeah, I think we can invite you into another talk after this. Who knows, right? All right, yeah. So you see, there's a lot of transition happening into your company and also the other companies, the small company taking down the big company. You see, the world is moving too fast, and whoever have the true mindset and mentality, they will grow faster and also to build themselves like strong, you know.
That's correct.
So,
that's
yeah.
correct. Yeah, I think the mindset is very important. You know, if you look at the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, because this is become trending right now, because Cristiano Ronaldo is back to Old Trafford, ladies and gentlemen. So what made Cristiano manage to maintain, you know, the top-notch performance in the last, I would say, 15 years, 20 years throughout his career? Because his mentality, he always wanted to be the best. You can see that. That's why he differentiates himself than others. Same goes to Lionel Messi, because there's always debate between Leo as well as Cristiano, right?
Yeah, the best of the best. Still, there are two goats out there. So yeah, I think we can move on to our question. And yeah, I forgot to tell, I'm a very proud junior of yours. Just graduated from the same uni as you. So yeah, I hope I can be like you one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So let's move on
You can be
to,
better than me, in fact, inshallah.
hopefully, inshallah. Thank you, sir. All right, so I think we can move on to our question. All right, before I take questions from the attendees and also participants, I have a question for you. So yeah, just now you just said about opportunity and also dream. All right, how about if we have the opportunity, but it's not aligned with the dream? So which one you think you want to go to? Is it the opportunity or the dream? Okay, I give you one situation, all right? So the opportunity is not in engineering field, which is your dream. Your dream is to become an engineer. So in this pandemic era, do you think which one better to choose? Opportunity over dream?
So you go for opportunity first. As I mentioned before, right? This is not the time for us to be picky. So go for opportunity, because with that opportunity that you grab, so that will be eventually leads you to chase your dream, right? So grab the opportunity, and then later on your dream will come. So there is no right or wrong. I would say opportunity is very important. I mean, when the opportunities are served in front of you, your job is to grab it, right?
Yeah, and then eventually our
That's a
dream
short
will be there, inshallah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it
Thank you
will
so
follow
much.
through.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. All right, so I think I can move on to our attendees question. All right, so this one is from Nakiuddin Nordin. Okay, he said, congratulations on the impressive achievements, T.S. Sukor. I noticed that the peak of your career as an engineer was during the peak of oil and gas. This means more activities and more medium to showcase the contribution. Do you think if you graduated during the downturn in 2014 onward, you could potentially yield the same achievement? What do you think?
Right. So that's a very good question. I think, as I said, at the engineer's level or graduate level, so what we got to do is to focus on the job that we have, right? So if we think too much about what's going on in the industry, maybe that will be jeopardized or influence or affected your journey of your career. So to answer your question, let's say if I started my journey as an engineer in this current pandemic, the most important thing for me, I just need to grab opportunity, regardless of the company. So once I'm in the system, and then I just need to perform and excel, regardless, right? So that is the focus. So the only difference is during the peak time or in comparison to the pandemic time, maybe with regards to activities. Okay, so let's say if I'm the engineer during the pandemic time, I would say the exposure for me to go to the rig or to get exposed may be less, but I cannot say that as well. But as I said, my company, even though in the pandemic, we are still able to survive. Yes, the volume is, there's some reduction of the volume, but yes, the opportunity is there. The job is still there. So you just need to grab the opportunity and perform. And then, inshallah, you will climb up your career ladders.
All right, thank you so much for the answer. All right, so next one is from Aina Jais. I'm really curious, sir, how exactly did you and your company manage to maintain employee and with bonus some more? What was instead of employees being sacrificed during those depressing times?
So what was the last sentence? I missed that.
Sorry. All right. So what was instead of employees being sacrificed during those depressing times? So you're not sacrificing your employees, but what do you sacrifice instead? Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for the question. Right. So I think let's put it this way. As I said, everyone is struggling, be it individual as well as the company, right? So it's very important. I think during the pandemic, we need to maintain, in the company a good cash flow or whatnot, right? So at the same time, I think my management style, my leadership style, I think people come first. I'm here because of the people. They work hard. I think once I take care of them, they will take care of me. So to answer your question, why in FTech Reading Solution, why the board still able to announce a slight token during Hari Raya? It's about different style of different people, different style of management, different company, different approach, different methodology. So in FTech Training Solution, we believe in keberkatan lah. Kita dah masuk ke non-technical, keberkatan. Sebab kita rasa during the fasting season, during Ramadan, so tak salah walaupun kita dalam keadaan tak ada, tak salah kita nak share apa yang kita ada walaupun sedikit, supaya so what we did, hopefully we can attract the rahmat from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Saya cerita macam tu je, mudah. Sebab maybe some people, that's correct, yeah, maybe some people they don't agree with me, but that's what we in FTech Drilling we believe in it.
Okay, that was amazing. I think we all need to do that, to use that, like giving, and then inshallah will be back to us, all the things like that. All right, next up is from Atira, from our committee, Bravo team. So hi, TS Sukor, is it relevant to compare previous challenges during your time with the current challenges? Is it relevant to compare?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, okay, as I mentioned, right, the oil and gas industry is very dynamic. It's a cycle by itself, right? So the economic downturn, the low oil prices, it will keep on happening from time to time, because the oil prices won't be, static or stagnant all the way. So yeah, during my time as an engineer, maybe I faced that, and then when I started my business, of course, I got to face the economic downturn, the low oil prices, and now it happened again. Cuma beza je kali ni adalah it's double trouble. Low oil prices plus the pandemic as well. The pandemic, as you know, is the unprecedented. It never happened before. We never faced this kind of pandemic challenges. So the impact is maybe it's more compared to just normal low oil prices when we got to face before, right? But I think everyone is learning how to react with the pandemic. So I think, as I mentioned, the opportunity is still there, the business is still there, right? So even during the pandemic as well, I would say if one business is not really doing good or not encouraging, so we always need to think what are the business that can bring us more revenue. For example, during the pandemic, I would say the remote operation, I think, is playing an instrumental role. Okay, so therefore, I think the likes of apps provider like Zoom, like Microsoft Teams, they're making money, right? So we need to find which domain that can give us money and opportunity as well.
Opportunity. All right. Thank you so much. So we have someone raise up his or her hand right now. Kale Varma, you want to turn on your mic and ask?
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sukor. I'm Kalai. I'm a subsea engineer, by the way, and a UTB graduate as well. Working in subsea while oil and gas has been my background is actually a dream come true. And never once I felt like I'm working in a 9-to-5 job. So that is something to be proud of. But my question is, what would be your advice for those of the people who are working in a cross-functional discipline, especially for those who have a different background, even though it is related to oil and gas? For example, me coming from a mechanical background, my initial job in a subsea engineering was more towards mechanical fluids, flow assurance, and so on. And then after, as you have mentioned, during the economic downturn, I was retrenched given the company situation. And then within 2 months, I was able to get back to subsea again, but in a different scope, which is more towards structural engineering. And this one is a whole new level of spectrum whereby civil engineering principles are fundamentally applied, and it's a big challenge for me. What would be your advice for someone who is in a cross-functional discipline, or someone who's trying to learn something from a different approach or different angle?
Right. So thank you for the question, Kalai. Where are you working right now? Is it with a subsea company?
Yes, back in Subsea again. Technip Energies, which is a child for Technip Energies, is Genesis Consultants.
Right. I think, okay, thank you very much for the question. It's indeed a very good question. So cross-train, all right, cross domain. So I think in this sense, the likes of the big boys, especially Schlumberger, they have studied, this process to cross-train people to diversify the skill set of each of the employee. Okay, I give you example in drilling, like in Schlumberger, for instance. So there are some of the engineers, they started as a measurement while drilling engineers. There are some started as a directional drilling engineers. For instance, myself, right? So in Schlumberger, the cross segment is happening because I think this is one of the skills that we got to embrace, especially in a very dynamic environment. So from the MWD engineer, measurement while drilling. So there are lots of my engineers at that time, I cross-trained to become a directional drilling or in a way a drilling engineer, or in fact, there are some that are cross-trained to do a software or more into digitalization. Furthermore, nowadays, there's a lot of, I would say, a technical domain, be it in drilling or subsea. So let the company tend to cross-train this kind of discipline into digitalization or data, right? It happened. So like our friend over here, Kalai, so I think his background, as I remember, he said he was from mechanical background. He started his career doing the thing that he was taught during the university, his own discipline. But now he came back to a subsea company, but the domain is different, more into civil, right? So my advice, as I said, Kalai, just put it this way, because right now, if you think about your friends, there are some of your friends, they are not working, right? There are some of our relatives, maybe they are jobless. Lots of people, they are dying and starving out there. So those who are still working, so I think we got to be grateful of what we have. So that is about the non-technical aspect. But the technical aspect, let's say if you are now in the different domain, civil engineering, for me, it's a good, if I were you, it's a good learning platform. I would grab the opportunity. I will learn from it, even though your interest, your focus is more into mechanical. But trust me, especially the era is changed, the world is changed, you know. As I mentioned earlier, we cannot be that picky. But technical wise, I'm sure that we will learn a lot from the civil engineering aspect. Yep. I'm sure as well, if you put lots of focus, you are a smart guy, Kalai. I think you can excel in your career. You can excel in the new domain that you are in right now. So go for it, man. Go for it.
Yeah.
So at one point, you never know, there will be a junction. There will be a junction. You can come back to revisit your mechanical discipline again, because you never know, maybe God want to put a new path for you to be a technical manager. That, you know, as a manager, you got to know, you got to be exposed to multiple disciplines: civil, electrical, for example, mechanical. Maybe one day Kalai will be the very strong senior manager, but right now you've been exposed to civil, you've been exposed to mechanical. That is something plus for you. That's the way I see it, Kalai.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Kalai, for the question.
Welcome.
I also learned that from your question, you know. All right. So for now, okay, I have a question for you, Mr. Sukor. So just now you just mentioned about drilling simulation, right? So if there is no simulation back in the days, how would you do that? Is it test, you know, test and error or what?
During the, I think I wasn't exist at that time, during the maybe 60s or 70s, when there is no simulation. I think what they did is based on the theory and calculation, the raw calculation. In terms of directional drilling, for instance, when we want to make an angle, right? When we want to make an inclination. So right now is easy. We got the software. Maybe during the good old days, you need to apply your trigonometry because from there you can know the angles, how much you got to slide, how much you got to make the inclination and so on. So and as well, the theory is very important. For example, right now, you know, bottom hole assembly, you guys are coming from the petroleum engineering background. The bottom hole assembly, right, is the assembly that you use to drill the well. Okay, so to have the bottom hole assembly, you got to design. We call it BHA design. You got to design the assembly. You cannot simply just put, okay, the mud motor is here, the LWD is here, the MWD is here. So there is the art there, right? So same goes like a directional assembly, directional BHA assembly. So yes, there is a software. You just key in all the input, and it's automatically it will advise you, this is your BHA design if you would like to make a fulcrum effect or a pendulum effect. Now you want to beat the angle or want to lower the angle. So back all days, as I said, theory means I'm talking about the BHA design. We call it 3 points contact. Orang drilling dia tahu lah. Sebab apa 3 point contact? 3 point contact dalam BHA ni, especially rotary assembly, when we want to design the BHA, we have to apply the theory of 3 point contact dekat situ. But from the 3 points contact, kita akan placekan kita punya stabilizer. From there, that BHA will tell you whether that assembly will help you to build or to drop the angle. Kalau sekarang pakai software, dulu kita pakai 3 points contact. So ada teori dia. So based on teori lah, semuanya manual. That's why orang-orang dulu ni hebat-hebat, kan? Without the software, they are able to drill the well.
Dia orang punya skill lain macam. Outstanding.
Betul.
Yeah. So just now you say about drilling and whatsoever, right? Is it like a Lego thing that you want to assemble everything and then do the work? Is it like that? And what if there is no suitable measurement of the tool? Are you gonna manufacture a new one or how?
Right. So right now, good question. When we talk about drilling, maybe there are some of you are new in drilling, maybe some of you are familiar. So as you said that in terms of sebab apa kita drilling, number one is to make a hole. Number two is for the geology point of view, we need to get the data. Be it your punya gamma ray, your resistivity, your density neutron, this is all the data in geology sini tahulah. So that's a second thing. Make the hole or hit the target at the same time is to obtain the data, right? So if your question is kalau tak ada some kind of equipment to measure certain parameters, right? So right now, I think due to the development of the technology, I think we have almost everything, right? So as far as I'm concerned, and then the technology development is very rapid right now. From years to come, from time to time, there will be new technology introduced. So in fact, right now, the conventional method of drilling needs to be blend in with the artificial intelligence and the technical data element there. Again, we talk about drilling because I'm coming from drilling background. While we are drilling, so one of the big sins, dosa besar dalam drilling ni apa? Stuck pipe. We don't want our assembly to get stuck. We got stuck, everyone is in trouble, right? When we got stuck, we cannot retrieve our assembly. That assembly costs millions of USD, right? So in this case, how can we prevent stuck pipe ni every year it will happen, right? Even though we took all the precautions measures, all the risk assessment, but sometimes it still happen. So this is something that operators are afraid to happen. So with the emergence of artificial intelligence, for instance, there are many companies out there, big boys, even FTech in solution. We are trying to come up with the artificial intelligence solution. Okay. So for instance, artificial intelligence, it will help you to predict what's going to happen in the next 20 meters of drilling. For instance, FTech right now, we are developing MyGully. MyGully is full made in Malaysia. Artificial intelligence stuck pipe prediction. Kita nak predict adakah start pipe akan berlaku in the next 20 meters, 10 meters. Saya baru present benda ni in the Petronas Reset 2021 in April baru-baru.
Yeah.
So by having that state-of-art software to predict what's going to happen, obviously that brings lots of value to the operators and to drilling operation. Okay. Ya, kalau sebelum ni kita tak boleh nak predict. Tiba-tiba ya, we have spell out all the mitigation measures. However, maybe due to the fault unseen, so we got stuck down there. But with this new approach of artificial intelligence start pipe prediction, so we are able to predict, okay, hang on a while, in the next 10 meter you are going to get stuck. This is what you need to do. Okay, circulate off bottom and then increase your flow and then put less your ROP, for instance, right? So this is something that we are doing right now. The evolution is interesting. From the conventional drilling method, we are trying to blend in the artificial intelligence concept into drilling.
That was the answer that I was searching for, actually, and then it's coming from you. Thank you so much. I'll take note on that.
Sama-sama.
All right. And I saw my colleague just now just raise up his hand, Mohamad. Do you want to ask a question?
Silakan, Mohamad.
Yeah.
Sir, hello, Mr. Sukor. I would like to thank you for the speech. Firstly, it's been a very great and very motivating. My question would be like, what makes you keep like what drives you or makes you hungry, like still keep going like after achieving so much success, and like, is there any limit for you, or like just your opinion on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother, for the question. So what keep me going, what push me is actually the objective that I put in my life, in my career, right? As I mentioned, even I put one post on LinkedIn, but everyone must have your short-term plan, mid-term plan, and long-term plan. Okay, so you join as an engineer, for instance. So you join it, you nak kena letak kan. Always remember, apa aku punya next target in the 3 years to come, 5 years to come, and 10 years to come. What I'm going to be in the next 10 years. You must project yourself. Even when I do hiring and interview, I don't really interview you. I scan you top to bottom, and then I try to project. Bukan nak tilik masa depan, try to project what can you be in the next 5 years. When you talk to me, your telo, your gesture. So I map accordingly. So that's my style, right? And then from there, I'm not only hire you as for this current position, but I look, up to the future as well, what you will be. So same goes to me. What keep me, keep going is the target that I put. Maybe under the employment, I think I have tested what I wanted in my career with regards to employment. Yeah, I dah rasa lah in a way how to do involve in operation, sales, business development, or as recruiting, lead management, So I've been exposed to all of these. So from there, I think I challenge myself. That's a new target lah. I challenge myself, yes, to be in the business world, to be in the business world. So how far I can go. So in this business world, I put my new objective. Okay, the objective is obviously there's something that I cannot share with you, but objective obviously try to grow FTech drilling solution as big as it can be. Maybe one day, we never know, FTech drilling solution can go for listing, right? Maybe one day FTech drilling solution will position ourselves as one of the biggest company that can sit shoulder to shoulder, even not shoulder to shoulder, maybe not far from big boys, Halliburton and Schlumberger. So yeah, the dream is big, but yeah, the like of Uzma, I think they have done tremendously great job, right? They are one of the reputable local service provider from small as well. Everyone started small to where they are right now. Maybe I'm trying to simulate that journey. We never know, but yeah, keep on going. So that keep me pushing. So because the business journey is still a long way to go. So because business ni, yeah, dia punya challenges is different because it seems like there is no full stop, right? So you finish one and you need to find next one, what is next, and then yes, to grow your business, to grow your empire and whatnot. So that's what I can share with you. That keep me going. And of course, I would like to share as well. While we keep on going to pursue our ambition, so what is important for us is the support function. Sama lah, setiap orang daripada kita, suka tak suka, you like it or not, you need a support function. Who will be your support function? Is your family. So my wife, my kids, you know, they are my strongest support function. My mother, obviously, her doa that make the things easy for me, right? Our relative, those are our strong support function. If your support function, I would say, is koyak or is weak, you will be weak as well to achieve your ambition. Unless if you don't have ambition, you are okay of what you are doing, that's different story. But if you have ambition to grow up in your career ladder, remember, take care of your support function. That is very important. So that keep me going as well, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Sukor. May the success be with you and your team, inshallah, coming from our country, Malaysia, inshallah.
Likewise.
We have a lot of questions actually, but yeah, I will give the opportunity to my mentor here, Mr. Zahar. He's raising his hand. So would you like to ask, Mr. Zahar? Yeah.
Thanks, Afiq. Hi, T and Sukor. How are you? Hope you're well. I have a quick question. Yeah, I'm a fellow drilling enthusiast as you as well. I work with Sapura as a drilling rig engineer. A question with regards to the advancement of AI technology, right? You were talking about automation drilling, etc. I think there was also quite of a big deal in Norway, in the University of Stavanger, about how they are getting into automation drilling. With automated pipe handling, cyber drilling, automation drilling, etc. I just wanted to ask, how does this impact to the conventional drillers, rig crew workers who are working offshore? How will it affect their job? Will they still be able to keep their jobs? And what role can they, take in a digitalized AI future for drilling?
Right. So thank you very much, Tuan, for the question. I think it's a good question for sure. So I would say the emergence of technology, especially when you talk about simulator, when you talk about artificial intelligence, that will not, as of now, that will not jeopardize the position of the drillers or the rig workers. That will complement them. They will make their job to be much easier while they are executing the job. So I give you an example, like the drilling simulator that we have, that Petronas have adopted this technology as well and applied in Suriname exploration well. As you know, Suriname exploration well, that was one of the big success for Petronas, new discovery or whatnot, right? So one of the secret of success, I think my friend Kuhan was the lead engineer there. He's from Petronas. So they use the drilling simulator not to replace the drillers, but to enhance the competency and try to simulate the challenges and risks that may happen while they are drilling Suriname exploration well. Okay, for instance, as far as I'm concerned, in Suriname, the well that they have drilled at the time, that was surrounded by lots of wells that have experience in stuck pipe. Okay, so by deploying this simulator, so they managed to simulate the risk, and then before they start drilling, before they are kicking off, so all the rig workers, so they will share the simulation with the rig workers. So everyone will have the opportunity to play with the simulator with a joystick, and based on the maybe realistic simulation. For instance, okay, this is the stuck pipe A that you got to face, and then so what you got to do in reality. But they're using simulation, so they try to change the parameters, and then the software will teach them, will guide them how to encounter this kind of problem. Anyway, the bottom line from this, the juice from this simulation is to enhance the competency of recruit and then to set in their mindset that how to react when you are facing maybe start pipe event in your well. So what to react if you have a pack off in your well, what to react if you have high stick and slip in your well. So this simulator try to teach you how to combat this kind of issues with list of mitigation measures. So that will give benefits to the drillers, right? Because they've been trained. It enhances their competency. So they feel more confident to drill the well. So itu satu. Maybe saya faham soalan daripada Tuan tadi, di mana let's say in the future, right? In the future, if one day we are trying to go into 100% remote operation, whereby maybe we are no longer needs human on the rig side.
Yep.
So maybe, yeah. So one day I think that may happen. Even right now, the likes of the big boys company, they are working and formulating some ideas. For instance, when we talk about directional drillers, measurement while drilling, right? So before to drill one job, maybe we need 5, 2 directional drillers, 3 MWD engineers. But right now they're trying to reduce the numbers of workers. Maybe it's possible as well. I think this one can be happen in the near future. You don't need anyone. Maybe you just need 1 engineers of DDMWD segment on the rig. Seorang yang dah cukup. The rest will be managed from the remote monitoring facility at town. So that can be happen. Okay. So in fact, I think I have the discussion with Petronas as well, especially during this pandemic, but we are yet to implement this one, that we have, in a way, I would say a problem whereby, due to this pandemic, the rig workers, they got to quarantine. The service companies workers, they have to be quarantined. For example, in Miri, right? So sometimes when they quarantine, tiba-tiba one of them got positive again. So that change, that give the chaos to their planning as well. So what we are discussing, but still brainstorming, is can we support the rig from the quarantine center? So we change the quarantine center to become remote monitoring facilities. So having said that, maybe there is 1 mud engineer on the rig and 1 at the quarantine center. Contoh, there are only 2 engineers of MWD on the rig and maybe 2 located at the quarantine center or remote monitoring facilities. So, the discussion the point that I mentioned over here, I think that translating into one day, maybe there will be less human intervention on the rig side. There will be more, I would say, big intervention from the remote monitoring facilities. So that's my answer to your question.
All right, thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was so informative. Yeah, I'm so sorry to all the participants. We are nearly to end our program. I'm so sorry for my mistake today. So yeah, Mr. Sukor, do you want to take another last question before we end?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
All right. Okay. So this one coming from Miss Glory. What does one do when your goal can't be achieved due to environment and capital?
The environment too very subjective too. What kind of environment?
Okay, she didn't say
Okay,
anything
basically,
about it. Yeah, okay.
Tak apa. So,
all right.
Okay, thank you for the question. So, what can one do if our goal can't be achieved, right? Due to the specific reason, be it environment or what's the other one?
Sorry?
So if our goal cannot be achieved due to the environment, what's the other factor that he said in the question?
It's a capital.
Capital. Okay, ada modal duit Okay. Macam ni. So what happen if your goal cannot be, ataupun you have constraint or handicap, especially with regards to the capital lah. I think that is your question. Maybe because I don't really get the question, but I'm trying to answer. Try to diversify. I mentioned that, and try to tweak a bit. For example, if you really wanted to do a business, like you don't have money. Same goes to me. I don't have money during back old days, right? So as a start, maybe you can start the business that is using a very less capital expenditure. Now very low capex. Maybe kalau nak cakap senang, bisnes yang menggunakan air liur. Apa dia? Ada consultation. Maksudnya air liur tu bukannya kita menjaja, tidak. Maksudnya kat sini adalah we can start up the business with a very minimum capex. So that, for example, minimum capex, that the domain that is associated with minimum capex, normally consultation, right? Giving the advice, expert consultation to A, B, C, and D, if that is your question. So yes, bermaksud if you don't have capex, so that won't stop you there, right? You don't give up. You don't say that that is the end of the world, but think out of the box, right? Start with something which is less capex. Furthermore, nowadays, there are lots of, nothing will stop you. If you don't have money to open the shop, you always can open up a virtual shop. Shopee kan ada, buka kedai kat Shopee, boleh buat duit. Contoh, right? And banyak lagi. So capital is not, I would say, a stopper for you to continue your business journey or to set up your business. You can still pursue your dream. You can still set up your business with the minimum capex that you have. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Short and precise.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So with the last question answered, yeah, we are nearing to the end of our session for today. So before we proceed with the photography session, I, on behalf of Bravo team, would like to thank TS Sukor for making this time to join us today, despite his busyness and also your precious weekend. And to all attendees for showing your interest in joining us this Saturday afternoon. We sincerely apologize, me, myself, and my team, for any shortcomings, and we hope to see both of you, TS Sukor, and also all the attendees in the future. So before we end our session, I would like to invite TS Sukor and all the attendees to join us in the photography session. Attendees are invited to turn on your camera, and now I will hand over to my protocol team.
Please open your camera.
James, are you okay?
Are we able to fit everyone in? Or would there be 2 snapshots?
I think there will be another page.
Okay.
Yeah, I will take multiple screenshots for that.
All right.
I heard we have audience from India and Nigeria. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
We require a bigger theater lah.
Thank you, Thirupathi, for sharing. I dial in from driving as well. It's very good to hear.
Okay, I will count 1, 2, 3, cheese. Then I will take a screenshot.
All right.
1, 2, 3, cheese. One more. 1, 2, 3, cheese. I try to change to another view.
Right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, now freestyle. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, James. Thank you,
Bravo,
everyone.
bravo team. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, T.S. Anwar, for
Guys,
supporting
thank
us.
you very much. You guys have
Thank you
done a
so much.
great job. Impressive.
Thank you so
Bravo
much,
team.
T.S. Shukor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
The
Thank you, T.S.
redefinition of
Anwar.
engagement session. Thank you, Tia Syukur. InsyaAllah kita main badminton nanti.
Thank you very much, Wan. Thank you. Appreciate
Good job,
your
bravo
support.
team. Good job.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, thank you so
everyone.
much, Encik Thiru and Tia Syukur. You know,
Yeah.
heartwarmed thank you from the entire SPKL community.
Yeah, to
Thank you
all
so
the
much for joining us.
participants, please
Thank you.
scan
Thank you as
QR
well.
code
Yep.
All right.
for
So
feedbacks.
Yep. All right. Once again,
Okay.
thank you, T.S. Shukor and T.S. Anwar and also Mr. Thiru for joining us for today.
Thank
We
you.
hope to meet you again in the future, as I am sure that your words have left a great impact to all of us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
So,
thank you,
yeah,
Afiq. You have done a good job too, Afiq. Kudos to you.
Yep.
Thank you so much,
Good job,
T.S.
Afiq.
Anwar.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
One day we can
you.
Fatin,
you
thank
game
you so
together.
much. You know the mastermind. Our
Yeah.
Fatin there. Thank you,
My
Fatin.
mentor.
Thank you. I learned a lot today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you all participants.
Have
You
a
know,
nice day.
selamat Hari Merdeka and
Selamat
happy
Hari
birthday to
Merdeka.
our beloved country. You know, celebrate
Yeah. Happy
Merdeka.
Merdeka.
Yeah.
We
All right.
love our country.
Yeah,
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah, attention to all our attendees. There is a QR code for the feedback form. So I really appreciate if you can scan the QR code or click the link in our chat box to fill in the feedback form for us to improve more in the future. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Excellent, excellent.
Physically.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
InsyaAllah kita jumpa hari rezeki ya. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Good day. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Good job, Afiq.
Thank you, Zaha. I don't know if I do right thing or not.
You did well.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
It's a wrap.
Oh my god. I'm sorry for all participants who asking the question. I skip your question. I'm so sorry. This is my first time moderating, so please forgive me. I will do better next time if you want.
You did great, Afiq.
No, thank you.
Tutup live dulu baru
Maybe,
celebrate.
yeah.
Yes,
Stop
yes.
recording first, Mohamad.
Okay, guys, recording.